Chapter 2161. Hearing Wang Shangwu's resolute answer, the eyes of the 3 Yu clan members dimmed. Yu Wugo was just trying her luck to see if the Yu clan could bring the tyrannical emperor's battle physique back to the Yu clan. Unexpectedly, the answer she got was so firm and resolute. This was beyond their expectations. The reason Wang Shangwu could be so unyielding was naturally because he had the support of such a shocking young man. Immediately, Yu Ning-er frowned. She wanted to say something but stopped. Her gaze fell on the arrogant Wen Yuan, and her gaze became complicated. This scene happened to be seen by Yu Wugo, and a trace of helplessness flashed through her bright old eyes. Such an extraordinary young man, what he had experienced and seen must be much more vast than the Yu clan. Since when Yuan declared that he was helping Wang Shangwu regain face, how could he let Wang Shangwu stay in the Yu clan? Amidst the heavy atmosphere, it was still Su Yi who broke the silence and spoke abruptly. There are some things that can't be missed. Don't take it to heart, Yu clan master. Shangwu's aptitude is amazing. If he stays in the ancient sect, he will be buried. As I said, these people in the ancient sect won't even have the qualifications to worship him in the future. The 3 Yu clan members swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Such an arrogant tone could only be said by Wen Yuan, and it sounded so natural. If it was anyone else who said such words in front of the Yu clan master, they would either be a lunatic or a fool. Suddenly, Yu Wugo, Yu Ning-er, and Shin Tu's eyes flashed with a strange light, and they immediately shut their mouths. However, Yu clan master, there is one thing you didn't miss, and that is that we can still cooperate sincerely in a desperate situation. Su Yi glanced over, his bright eyes revealing a trace of depth. Yu Wugo frowned, only to hear Su Yi say with a smirk, "The Dire Sea Realm is the Yun clan's top priority. If Yu clan master wants to postpone it, I'm afraid it's not that simple, right?" In an instant, a trace of surprise flashed across Yu Wugo's kind face, and her eyes flickered. Yu Wugo's performance also verified Su Yi's thoughts. Su Yi really wanted to know what Yun Zhongli was planning. Suddenly, Su Yi's low and deep voice resounded once again in the vast inner hall. His gaze was fixed on Yu Wugo as he spoke. "If family head, you can tell me what I want to know, I think we can cooperate sincerely." Sigh. Yu Wugo fell silent for a long time. Then, he looked directly at Wen Yuan. This youth seemed to be able to see through people's hearts. Even with her decades of shrewdness, she still felt her scalp go numb in front of him. Yu Wugo was even more curious about Wen Yuan's true identity. Yu Wugo flung her robe, her benevolent face full of graveness. Her gaze turned towards Yu Ning-er. "Ning-er, bring Shangwu and Ren Jie down to rest. I have something to say to Wen Yuan," Yu Wugo said softly. Immediately, Yu Ning-er nodded slightly. She knew that her grandmother must have something important to tell her. Thus, she bowed to Yu Wugo. Yu Ning-er pulled Shintu Shuang and smiled at Wang Shangwu. Then, they walked to the back room. After the two of them left, Yu Wugo's eyes shone brightly. She raised her eyebrows and said, "If we are going to cooperate sincerely, shouldn't you be more honest with me?" Her calm gaze was fixed on Su Yi. A powerful soul coercion instantly filled the air. Below, Su Yi lowered his hands slightly. A surging soul coercion rippled out as if it was protecting its master, causing ripples to appear in the space. In an instant, the wind and clouds surged in the huge inner hall. Two terrifying auras lingered in the air as they confronted each other. Looking at Yu Wugo's grave expression, Su Yi naturally knew that Yun Zhongli and Yu Wugo must have guessed that he was Su Yi. Then, Su Yi no longer concealed himself. His palm gently wiped his face, revealing a delicate and handsome face. The only thing that didn't change was the pair of abyss-like eyes. "This humble one is Su Yi. Greetings, family head Yu." Su Yi's deep voice slowly flowed out. Yu Wugo's old eyes narrowed slightly. Her silver-white hair fluttered gently. Looking at Su Yi's real appearance, her eyes unconsciously moved slightly. "You really came to the ancient sect. Family head Yu has spread the word that he wants to kill you. You still dare to come? Hearing this, Su-yi smiled indifferently. His body suddenly straightened, and an inexplicably vigorous soul coercion burst out again. He was like a war god. There are many people in the world who want my life. If I don't dare to come, won't Shang-wu, Wan-er, and Jing-er be disappointed? Jing-er! Yu Wugo couldn't help but be moved when she heard Su-yi call Yun-jing so intimately. Yu Wugo stretched out a pair of slightly wrinkled snow-white hands and gently pressed them down, indicating for Su-yi to sit down. She then said softly, "Since you keep your promise, based on your courage, I can tell you the family head's plan." Then, Yu Wugo's expression was calm and peaceful. She stretched out her hand and waved it forward. A fierce aura instantly filled the air, and a small enchantment isolated the two of them from the outside world. Yun-jing's whereabouts are unknown. Family head has searched all over the Sky Barbarians, but to no avail. Even the family head of the Tianfeng ranking battle has no intention of participating. However, family head is extremely concerned about the dire straits this time. Do you know why? Hearing Yu Wugo's words, Su-yi's heartbeat gradually accelerated. The aura around him soared into the sky, and divine light surged. He said, "Could it be that the dire straits this time is related to Jing-er's whereabouts? I can only say that it might be related." Yu Wugo's face was ashen as she said ambiguously. Yu Wugo's words made Su-yi frown slightly. Yu Wugo said, "Family head guesses that there are only two possibilities for Jing-er's whereabouts. One is that Jing-er is no longer in the Sky Barbarian continent, and the other is that she has been taken away by the Long family." Hearing the two words Long family, Su-yi's aura gradually became heavy. He said doubtfully, "I heard that Jing-er returned to the Yun family afterward. How could the Long family have taken her away?" An old voice continued, sounding like a deep sigh. "The 9 families of the Yun family have coexisted for 10,000 years. How could one of them be harmonious? I'm afraid that someone has long been disloyal." Family head Yu, are you saying that there are people from the Long family in the ancient sect? Su-yi was shocked. If there were people from the Long family in the ancient sect, it was no wonder that Yun Zhongli had kept a low profile for so many years. To be honest, the dire straits of the dire straits are supposed to open tomorrow. It's family head Yu's plan to open one day earlier. He wants to expose those who have disloyal thoughts. Therefore, if you hadn't caused a ruckus at the Rising Cloud Palace today, the dire straits would have been postponed, Yu Wugo said calmly. Hearing this, Su-yi's eyes flickered. Yun Zhongli, that old fox, was indeed shrewd. He used the dire straits of the dire straits to test the Long family who were hiding in the dark. Phew! Su-yi nodded solemnly. In that case, the Cloud List battle this time was also a cover. The main event should be to find the people from the Long family and find Yunjing's whereabouts. The Yu family was the main character of the Cloud List battle this time. Chapter 2162. You helped Ning-er get rid of the engagement and saved us a lot of trouble. The main task of the Yu family is to find the evil spawn of the Long family together with the Yun family. You have always been at odds with the Long family, and you have a close relationship with Ning. It is inevitable that the Yu family will cooperate with you sincerely. Yu Wugo smiled faintly. Hearing this, Su-yi remained silent for a long time. The Long family again. As long as he found the Long family, he might know Yunjing's whereabouts. But what if he couldn't find Yunjing's whereabouts after finding the Long family? Would Yunjing really be in the extraterritorial region like Yun Zhongli thought? This was something that Su-yi didn't want to think about. Su-yi shook his head and didn't think too much about it. His only goal in entering the Desperation Sea was to find the Long family. Su-yi said to Yu Wugo, "I wonder if the Yunyue clan and Yunyue clan already have a suspect in mind?" Yu Wugo stood up slowly. Her plain robe fluttered because of the space energy. She turned around and said, The Wu family! The Wu family? Shouldn't the Long family's spy be the Gongyang family, who fought fiercely during the day? On second thought, he remembered Wu Ma Xiu, who came with Ram's star plume. He was wearing a black robe and looked mysterious. Su Yi's eyes darkened immediately. The Gongyang family is the third most powerful force of the ancient sect. When the sect was established, the seniors of the Gongyang family contributed the most. Even if they were corrupted by the Long family, not all of them would be corrupted. Zhongli and I both believe that the real demon of the Long family is the Wu family. Yu Wugo raised her old eyes and a chilling aura surged up. After a long while, Su Yi stood up. The Yun family was indeed hiding an earth-shattering secret. The Long family had been hiding in the Yun family for so long. The ranking of the Yun ranking was no longer his goal. Helping the Yun family find the Long family and ask about Yunjing's whereabouts was the most urgent thing. Despairs in the Jeshur Sea, open. Under the cold moonlight, Su Yi's eyes flickered, and an unknown fighting spirit shot out. Inside a secret chamber of the Gongyang family. Damn it, this bastard! Tomorrow, in this hopeless situation, I will definitely skin Wen Yuan alive. Gongyang Xingyu slumped in his chair. When he thought of the scene during the day, his gaze was still filled with shock. Trash, swallow this pill. The dim candlelight shone on Gongyang Wuming's gloomy old face. He stared at his disappointing grandson with disdain. Ram's star plume swallowed the pill in one gulp, and his eyes were as vicious as a candle flame. Grandpa, the Ram star plume can't take this lying down. Gongyang Wuming sneered and slammed his palm on the shiny jade table. He said angrily, "The marriage contract is gone, the snow tobacco is useless, and my decades of revenge plan has been ruined. What use do I have for you? Unable to swallow this anger? I've already lost face, so why can't you swallow this anger? Gram." The berserk sound wave instantly shook Gongyang Xingyu down from his chair. The table leg that was constantly shaking was practically about to turn into fine powder and scatter away in an instant. Ram Star Plume, who had never seen his grandfather so furious, was also shocked. The tearing pain in his soul made him grimace in pain. "Still not going to treat your injuries? Tomorrow, if you can't surpass that little girl Yuning you can forget about taking a step into the Gongyang family." The angry roar resounded, and the terrifying soul energy was like a big hand pushing Ram Star Plume out of the door. Ram Star Plume, who had rolled and crawled out, stood in the corridor. The gloomy moonlight shone on his ice-cold face, and the corner of Gongyang Xingyu's mouth twitched incessantly. A strong killing intent shook the branches and leaves beside him until they made rustling noises. He was already depressed, and now that he was cursed by his grandfather, the killing intent in his heart soared. "Wen Yuan, I'll definitely cut you into 1,000 pieces." A deep roar came from his chest. Boom! The floor in the corridor shook rapidly, and a long crack spread from the stone floor. At this moment, an obscure and hoarse voice came from the roof. Ram Star Plume's heart trembled, and he raised his eyes. Who was it? He could actually sneak into the Gongyang family without being discovered by the guards of the Gongyang family? Ram Star Plume was very surprised. Even he, who was at the 6th level of Origin Ancestor, could not detect the aura of the intruder. "Brother Gongyang, why are you so angry that you don't even recognize me?" Ram Star Plume quickly raised his eyes and immediately recognized Wu Ma Xiu, who he had seen during the day, standing under the bright moonlight on the roof. "Are you also here to laugh at me? If you want to die, I don't mind fulfilling your wish." Ram Star Plume flew into a rage, and violent attributed energy gathered in his palm. He was just worried that he had nowhere to vent his anger after being reprimanded by his grandfather. Bang! At the same time, Wu Ma Xiu shot out a wave of energy that was not inferior to Ram Star Plume's energy from his robe. Wu Ma Xiu's eyes were extremely cold, and the coldness was even more intense than Ram Star Plume's. At this moment, Wu Ma Xiu's cold laughter resounded through heaven and earth, and his killing intent was extremely dense. The terrifying killing intent swept across the sky as he looked at Ram's star plume faintly. I don't blame you for making a fool of yourself. You are indeed a complete idiot. Wu Ma Xiu's hoarse voice rang out again. A strange purple flame gathered in the palm of his hand, and the spiraling flame runes circulated. It could pierce through space at any time and bombard Ram's star plume below. What do you mean? Ram's star plume asked coldly. Lu Linxian has already told me that the person who made a fool of you today is the person you want to kill, Sui. Hearing this, Ram's star plume's expression changed wildly, and his cold eyes were instantly filled with killing intent. He said angrily, "Speak clearly." So, a purple stream of light suddenly emerged from where Wu Ma Xiu was. Under the pale moonlight, Wu Ma Xiu's figure disappeared in an instant. In the cold air, only a faint sentence was left. When Yuan is Sui. If you want to kill Sui, then come with me. Ram's star plume's gaze turned to the room of his grandfather, and a chill spread from the bottom of his heart. Wu Ma Xiu had always been sneaky and mysterious, and had never had any sense of existence among the 9 families. In recent years, because of this strange style of conduct, he had been criticized by others. His grandfather, Gong Yang Wuming, had long forbidden the family to casually interact with the Wu Ma family in order to protect the reputation of the Gong Yang family. Ram's star plume let out a long sigh of relief, and his resentful eyes seemed so cold in the darkness. He smiled coldly and said, "Grandfather, I'm sorry." Yun family, in the patriarch's room. A fierce quarrel broke out, and Yun Zhongli's deep voice spread through the air. "What are you quarreling about? What are you quarreling about? Did something happen? Did something happen to the stinking brat? You are cursing the heavens and the earth here, and your ears are getting calluses from cursing." Chapter 2163. What if something happens to him? That old bastard Wuming, I pretended to be a fool all these years. Forget it if he bullied me. This time, he bullied my son. I'll kill him tomorrow. Su Jingyuan's voice was even more violent than before. If anyone was present, they would tremble in fear. After a few seconds, Yun Zhongli sat down as if he was tired. He stared at Su Jingyuan in the dark and said, "Okay. The trick you suggested today is really useful. When that brat was making a ruckus, only the Wuma family reacted calmly. This is really suspicious." "The Wuma family." In the corner, Su Jingyuan shouted coldly. Along with the killing intent, a primordial chi aura suddenly fell down. If it weren't for the Long family, Wen Fu and I wouldn't have been hunted down. Later, we wouldn't have been separated in the dark sea. Su Jingyuan's eyes trembled, and regret flowed out from the corners of his eyes. Isn't Jing Er's whereabouts also unknown? Tomorrow, let Wu go catch that bastard from the Long family and ask him clearly. While we're free, I'll go into the dark sea with you. You look for your Wen Fu, and I'll look for my Jing Er. Yun Zhongli looked at the moonlight outside the window and sighed in his heart. I heard that Wan Er will go in tomorrow? Speaking of this, Yun Zhongli waved his hand and shook his head helplessly. I don't know where that little girl heard the news. Wang Shangwu came back with a brother. She was so excited. She was so noisy that she wanted to go in no matter what. But don't you know how dangerous it is in the dark sea? What's more, there are people from the Long family. Jing Er is already in trouble. How can anything happen to Wan Er? Su Jingyuan's eyes trembled, and a trace of undetectable worry flashed through his eyes. Yun Zhongli frowned and looked out of the window with his hands behind his back. He said softly, "Back then, I was afraid that the Long family would play tricks on me, so I protected Wan Er too much. Instead, she was lost in the barbarian city. After all these years, I've thought it through. What I'm afraid of will happen. I'm not afraid anymore. I'll die eventually, right? We'll have a great battle with the Long family eventually, right? Children have to grow up. Yun Zhongli's words were like the sound of a bell, instantly making Su Jingyuan solemn. Ripples continuously appeared in his trembling eyes. Yes, there will be a battle in the end. Su Jingyuan unconsciously clenched his fist. His aura soared like flames of fury, and the swelling flames of fury lingered around his body. I believe in my Wan you have to believe in your too. Young people were always able to come up with something different. Didn't that bastard Draconis suffer a big loss in the hands of Su Yi? Yun Zhongli laughed heartily, and there was a faint sadness in his carefree eyes. With Wan in the Cloud List battle, I'm relieved. At the very least, for Wan sake, he won't rashly enter a desperate situation. Su Jingyuan also breathed a sigh of relief, and his furious expression finally calmed down. Dong dong. At this moment, a crisp knocking sound came from outside the window, startling both Yun Zhongli and Su Jingyuan. A low and deep voice came from outside the door. Immediately, the two of them relaxed. Master, it's me, Chen Sigh, he's also a romantic. Su Jingyuan's faint voice drifted into Yun Zhongli's ears, and he forced a smile. Immediately, ripples appeared in the air, and Su Jingyuan disappeared again. Yun Hanchen and Yun Jing grew up together, and he was deeply in love with Yun Jing. In the eyes of everyone in the ancient sect, Yun Hanchen and Yun Jing were a perfect match made in heaven. Who knew that everything would change because of Yun Jing's departure and disappearance? Come in, Yun Zhongli said in a low voice when he sensed that Su Jingyuan had left. Creak. A tall and handsome man walked in. He had the appearance of a wind god. Even in the night, it was difficult to conceal his elegance. After discussing with Yu Wugo, Su Yi returned to his residence. It was already late at night, but Yu Ning and Shintu Shuangshuang were still awake. Together with Wang Shangwu, they were waiting for Su Yi's return in the guest room. Wen Yuan. You're back. Yu Ning sensed the fluctuation of aura and quickly got up. She pulled Shintu Shuangshuang and smiled at Su Yi. Looking at the two girls who were still awake, Su Yi felt that he shouldn't hide his identity anymore. He had already reached an agreement with the Yu family. In this desperate situation, he naturally had to help Yu Ning find out who the Long family was. You're all still awake? Su Yi smiled warmly and gestured for everyone to sit down. Su Yi's gaze fell on Yu Ning Shintu Shuangshuang, Wang Shangwu and Mu Renjie. Finally, Su Yi looked at Yu Ning. He could feel the shyness and flicker in her eyes. You're still talking about it? Why are you back so late? Tomorrow is the desperate situation. You should have come back earlier to adjust your breathing. Wang Shangwu raised his eyebrows and looked at Yu Ning. He smiled and said, Senior Ning insisted on waiting for you to come back before she could rest. I've been wanting to cultivate for a long time. Shangwu. Yu Ning looked at Su Yi. Her eyes flickered with shyness and she said hesitantly, That? I still have something to ask Grandma, so I had to wait for you to come back. It's not what Shangwu thinks. Don't misunderstand. Shintu Shuangshuang and Wang Shangwu heard Yu Ning words and secretly smiled. Then, they heard Su Yi's deep voice. All of you sit down. There's something I want to tell you. Immediately, everyone's expression became serious. Could it be that Su Yi wanted to tell everyone about the desperate situation tomorrow? Seeing everyone sit down, Su Yi told everyone about his plan with Yu Wugo. Especially the Wu Ma family. Everyone must be careful. If they meet them, they must not act alone. They must inform each other. The Wu Ma family must be spies. I've been annoyed with them for a long time. Wang Shangwu said fiercely as he clenched his fist. After he finished talking about the important matter, Su Yi's tone became even deeper. He glanced at everyone. Wang Shangwu and Mu Renjie seemed to feel that the atmosphere was not right and coughed. Next, there's something I want to tell Yu Ning and Shuangshuang. Shangwu and Mu Renjie already know about it. What is it? Shintu Shuangshuang smiled like a ghost and even winked at Yu Ning behind her. Immediately, Yu Ning-er's face became even more charming and shy, making people want to protect her. However, Shintu Shuang's smile froze and Yu Ning-er's eyes were filled with disbelief. Actually, my name is not Wen Yuan. Wen Yuan is just my alias. My real cultivation base is also at the 4th level of the origin ancestor stage. As soon as he finished speaking, it was mixed with an extremely overbearing origin energy. A terrifying origin energy aura roared out and resounded throughout the entire room like a sudden clap of thunder. Wang Shanwu and Mu Renjie, who were witnessing Su Yi's cultivation base for the first time, were also shocked along with Yu Ning-er and Shintu Shuang. Their expressions changed drastically. Chapter 2164. Su Yi's aura was extremely strong. His terrifying soul energy was not something an ordinary 4th-level origin ancestor could compare to. In the narrow space, invisible space waves rippled out, and the terrifying demonic aura instantly suppressed the surroundings. So powerful! Shintu Shuang looked at the terrifying aura, and her face was quickly filled with shock. Even though she had felt Su Yi's aura when she was recuperating, Yu Ning-er still could not hide her surprise when she woke up this time. Amidst the surging aura, light flowed around Su Yi's body, and his face gradually returned to its original delicate appearance. A voice that shook one's soul was heard. Actually, my real name is Su Yi. Suddenly, Yu Ning-er and Shintu Shuang's faces changed drastically, and anger exploded from Shintu Shuang's face. It's you. You're Su Yi? Yu Ning-er pursed her lips as if she had heard wrongly. Her eyes turned red as she said, You're Su Yi Jing-er's sweetheart? That's right. Su Yi smiled bitterly. He had come to find Yun Jing's whereabouts, but when he entered the Yun family, he realized that he had no choice. Jing-er's whereabouts are unknown because she met you. Do you know where she went? Yu Ning-er's nose turned red and her gaze turned solemn. The warmth from when she had just entered had disappeared. Su Yi shook his head and looked at everyone. Yun Jing's whereabouts might be related to the Long family. Only by finding the Long family can we find Jing. After he finished speaking, there was silence for a long time. Yu Ning-er wiped her face and forced a smile at Su Yi. I still have to find my grandmother. I'll take my leave first. She took a deep look at Su Yi, and like a ray of moonlight, she rushed out of the room. Shintu Shuang, who was left behind, glared at Su Yi and reprimanded. Great! My sister Ning-er waited for you for so long just for such an opportunity. In the middle of the night, the two ladies dashed away, leaving Su Yi and the rest in the night wind. What's going on? Mu Renjie looked at the situation that was still fine just now. Su Yi had revealed his identity. Shouldn't he be happy? Why did Yu Ning-er and Shintu Shuang look so angry? I know. They have a good relationship with Miss Yunjing, and you are Yunjing's sweetheart. They must have vented their anger on you, right? Mu Renjie suddenly realized. His eyes widened as he stared at Su Yi. Su Yi and Wang Shanwu looked at each other and smiled. Wang Shanwu looked at Mu Renjie and shook his head. Mu Renjie was indeed a martial fanatic. He didn't know why Dan Ruxian would take a fancy to Mu Renjie. Heavily patting Mu Renjie's shoulder, Wang Shanwu looked at Mu Renjie sympathetically, as if he was looking at a terminally ill patient. Rest early. If you want to cultivate, then cultivate. If you want to rest, then rest. Soon after, Su Yi looked at the departing figure and his face sank. He also returned to his room alone. In fact, how could Su Yi not know Yu Ning-er's thoughts? Doing this was the best for Yu Ning-er. If Su Yi still hid something from her in such a desperate situation, then it would be a sign of distrust towards his comrades. It would also not be a sincere cooperation. After all, the Yu family was the main force of the Yun family. Whether or not they could find the Long family in one fell swoop, Yu Ning-er and Shintu Shuang would play a crucial role. Sitting on the edge of the bed, fine silver light shone into the room, faintly absorbing the world energy. Su-yi began to close his mind and arrange the mysterious space. The scene in front of him instantly shocked Su-yi and Wang Shangwu. The entire space between heaven and earth was like a blazing sun, rising above Su-yi and Wang Shangwu's heads into the sky. Wind and thunder resounded through the sky. Terrifying lightning was like a wild dragon spiraling above their heads. High up in the sky, the majestic world energy had reached the highest peak in history. Looking carefully, the mysterious light that was originally scattered into a ball in the sky was no longer a whole piece, but gradually formed a pattern. When Su-yi and Wang Shangwu entered in a daze, two boundless ancient lights shot out from the sky. Accompanied by a sharp whistle, a semicircular pattern was formed around the two. After the light covered his body, Su-yi discovered that he was covered by a large bell. Su-yi and Wang Shangwu looked at each other. They could instantly feel each other's heartbeat as if it had stopped. The yuan qi in their meridians also flowed obediently as if it had met a supreme overlord. In the incomparably gentle light circle, Wang Shangwu once again erupted with a vast amount of world energy. The rumbling sound of his muscles exploding caused Wang Shangwu to have an irresistible force. His aura surged, and the bottleneck of the Origin Emperor realm was also rapidly broken through. On the other side, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the sky. Dark clouds rolled. The immemorial energy that enveloped Su-yi's body seemed to have crossed the boundless world and gradually transformed into 4 colors of light, corresponding to earth, water, wind, and fire. Su-yi, who could no longer take care of Wang Shangwu, closed his eyes. At the same time, a series of violent wind whistled in the sky. Standing under the divine light, Su-yi felt as if he was bathing in the glory of heaven and earth. In the depths of the distant void, terrifying cries of divine beasts broke through the clouds, connecting with the heavenly might, like a miracle. Golden dragon, divine phoenix, white tiger, black tortoise, and other divine beasts that only appeared in the immemorial era appeared in the depths of the sky once again. Heaven and earth seemed to have entered the barbaric era. A casual movement of the huge beast's body could cause the earth to shake and thunder to rumble. Bang! 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 The heavenly voice resounded, endless thunder. Soon, the entire mysterious space seemed to have been swept up by raging waves, and the stars moved. The rolling heavenly might, which was fierce enough to destroy and suppress thousands of creatures, was tightly connected with Su-yi's blood and yuan qi, reaching an unimaginable harmony. Bang! 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 4 ancient bell sounds that transcended time came from the void, and the fierce ancient aura instantly tore apart the spatial ripples in the surrounding space. Black spatial cracks appeared out of thin air, and the pitch-black space was filled with mysterious and brutal purple starlight, followed by ancient Sanskrit chants that transcended time and space. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The crisp and lively sound circled above Su-yi and Wang Shangwu's heads, and rich heaven and earth energy tightly wrapped around their bodies. At this time, Qi Feihong, who was standing in the distance, saw another strange phenomenon in the sky and couldn't help but prostrate on the ground in shock. Strange phenomenon of heaven and earth, divine beasts descending to the heavens, Sanskrit chants suppressing the world. What on earth is this bell sound? Lying tightly on the ground, Qi Feihong's illusory body gradually became agitated. His dim and deep eyes were already flabbergasted to the point of being dumbfounded. At this time, in the entrance, the iron soulfish, who had been sleeping for a long time, gradually woke up. Seeing everything in front of him, his eyes were also filled with shock. Chapter 2165. The Power of the Heaven-Suppressing Stone. This is the power of the heaven-suppressing stone. Has this kid collected all 4 heaven-suppressing stones? Previously, when the spiritual pool changed, Su-yi had already guessed that his mysterious light ball must have something to do with the heaven-suppressing stone. With the water heaven-suppressing stone, there were now two spiritual pools. The water heaven-suppressing stone was even hovering above the spiritual pool. The heaven-suppressing stone was extracted from the energy of heaven and earth. It was a crystal with the purest primordial chi attribute. It was hard to imagine what one could learn from it. Kid, the heavenly barbarian world will not be your stage soon. Go. The vast sea of stars and the boundless world of stars are your focus. The iron soulfish looked at the sky and could not calm down for a long time. Soon, he fell into a deep slumber once again. Only Sui, who was under the light ball's illumination, knew how powerful the energy in his body was. The aura in his body was constantly rising, and it was flowing madly in his blood vessels. The energy that he had accumulated by consuming the monster core and spiritual root liquid had been completely refined and gathered in his dantian. In the vast energy center, Su Yi's primordial chi had expanded to the point that it was about to explode. Chi La. The surging primordial chi was like a raging storm, constantly slapping against the great void spirit sea. The vast and ancient aura followed the primordial chi and enveloped the few drops of Xianling fire liquid in the spirit sea. Boom, boom, boom. Under the sky, the extreme energy of heaven and earth once again poured into Su Yi's body. This time, Sui could not take it anymore. The swelling and tearing of his meridians and flesh made Sui cry out in pain. Following the vast primordial chi energy, Sui unconsciously started to circulate the Origin Supreme technique in his body. Suddenly, under the guidance of the Origin Supreme technique, the crazy energy that filled the sky seemed to have received instructions and was quickly refined in the great void spirit sea. In just a short moment, the abundant energy was refined in Su Yi's body. Bright and resplendent profound spirit fire crystals also stayed in Su Yi's body like diamonds. With the birth of the profound fire spirit crystal, Su Yi's aura also broke through the shackles of his cultivation with an irresistible force. In less than 3 breaths of time, the aura on Su Yi's body had already undergone a miraculous change. 5th level Origin Ancestor Stage. This brat has encountered another great opportunity. Qi Feihong was so excited that his saliva flew everywhere. He was extremely envious as he looked at Sui, who had broken through to the Origin Ancestor realm. It was extremely difficult for a young man who was not even 20 years old to break through the first level of the Origin Ancestor realm. However, Sui had actually broken through right before his eyes. Thinking about how many years he had been stuck at the 9th level of the Origin Ancestor stage, he was truly ashamed. Qi Feihong smiled bitterly and shook his head. This was too much of a blow to him. Wang Shangwu, who was next to Sui, was currently surrounded by a golden whirlpool that was spinning wildly. Wang Shangwu, who was in the middle of it, also had his cultivation skyrocket. The speed at which it skyrocketed was even more shocking. After 3 consecutive violent trembling sounds, the energy radiance around Wang Shangwu's body expanded by more than 3 times. In the sky, the vast energy of heaven and earth finally stopped. Following Su Yi's roar, his cultivation aura finally fell to the peak of the 5th level of the Origin Ancestor stage. The energy of heaven and earth that was lingering around him also entered Su Yi's body in an instant like a spiritual object. A heart-wrenching scream was heard again. The energy that was poured into Su Yi's body in the end had been artificially stuffed into Su Yi's body. Naturally, it could not be compared to normal refinement. The great void spirit sea, which had been completely refined, was suddenly filled up again. Whoosh! The divine and awe-inspiring energy finally came to a stop after crushing the entire mysterious space into a mess. After the energy ripples spread out in the sky, they quickly disappeared. The bell-shaped radiance that enveloped Sui and Wang Shangwu had also dissipated. The entire world was silent. Sui, who slowly opened his eyes, although his eyes were clear, he was extremely tired. Looking at his arm that was glowing faintly, Sui smiled miserably. Then, He fell back and sat on the ground, panting heavily. I'm at the 5th level of the Origin Ancestor stage. Su-yi sized up the changes in his cultivation, and his heart trembled inexplicably. The energy that was about to expand in his body told him that if he wanted to, he could continue to increase it. However, it would definitely cause his foundation to be unstable. The changes in the Great Void Spirit Sea surprised Su-yi even more. The Xianling fire liquid that was originally floating had disappeared. In its place was a huge, clear Xianling fire crystal that was constantly revolving. Su-yi couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva as he looked at the huge energy within the Xianling fire crystal in shock. The Xianling fire crystal's intense radiance lit up the entire Great Void Spirit Sea. However, the energy that filled the Great Void Spirit Sea seemed to be avoiding the Xianling fire crystal. It could be seen how terrifying the energy within was. How terrifying is the energy within this fire crystal? Su-yi looked at the fire crystal in his body and couldn't help but smile. At that moment, Su-yi really wanted to quickly enter the Great Void Spirit Sea and see how long he could keep the Sorrow Star open. Whoosh! Su-yi! A painful groan pulled Su-yi back to reality. Looking at Wang Shangwu, who was also lying on the ground, Su-yi was even more delighted. 4th level of the Origin Emperor stage. Shangwu, you are breaking through too quickly. Su-yi couldn't help but nod his head as he blurted out the joy. In just a short moment, Wang Shangwu actually broke through 4 levels consecutively. Wang Shangwu forced a smile and looked at Su-yi. However, he was helped up by Su-yi. To Wang Shangwu, his foundation was too weak. He couldn't resist the influx of energy and also couldn't resist the increase in cultivation level. Consecutive breakthroughs would definitely cause his foundation to be weak. Therefore, Wang Shangwu's soul spirit was extremely weak. I will bring you to soak in the spiritual pool. Su-yi took a deep breath and didn't bother about his shocking changes. He brought Wang Shangwu to the side of the spiritual pool. This is... Su-yi lifted his head and his eyelids suddenly twitched. At the side of the spiritual pool, Qi Feihong, who was in his soul spirit form, was looking at Su-yi with a smile. At this moment, the spiritual pool behind him was enveloped by a transparent energy bell. The spiritual pool where the water heaven suppressing stone was located was like a sculpture embedded on the bell. Looking at the mysterious bell in front of him, Su-yi's throat was rolling rapidly. His soul spirit seemed to be restricted by this mysterious and ancient bell. After you passed the soul trial, this bell will be here. Take a closer look at what is on it. Qi Feihong was astonished and laughed. When he supported Wang Shangwu and approached the bell, Su-yi instantly froze. A numbing sensation surged through his body as he stared at the bell with a flabbergasted expression. The entire bell was divided into 7 parts from top to bottom. From bottom to top, it was enveloped in a kind of hazy divine light. Within the divine light, there were profound runes engraved on it like inscriptions. A desolate aura constantly surged out from it. Chapter 2166. Starting from the bottom layer, the mysterious runes on it seemed as if they were jumping around like living creatures. Su-yi could not help but stare blankly as he exclaimed, "This is the 1st level of the Origin Supreme Technique, the Body of Diamond." Looking at the runes at the bottom of the light bell, the cultivation method chants that he had cultivated over and over in his mind were now vividly displayed before his eyes. Further up were the cultivation chants for the Heaven Origin Demon Soul, Heavenly Sun Heart, Great Void Divine Ocean, Primordial Yang Heavenly Bone, and Divine Mystical Spiritual Pulse. When he looked at the Divine Mystical Spiritual Pulse, the pattern turned into a revolving star pattern. A boundless huge suction force that seemed to want to devour him was emitted from it. Looking at the 22 lit profound entrances on it, it meant that he had reached the 5th level of Origin Ancestor stage. The Origin Supreme Technique is on it. Looking at the top of the bell, Su-yi couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air when he saw a blurry divine light revolving around it and boundless energy bouncing his soul away. "Look over there." Chi Feihong pointed in the direction of the spiritual pool in the bell. Instantly, waves of dense spirit chi energy surged into the surrounding space. Looking in the direction of Chi Feihong, Su-yi looked at the spirit pool in the bell. Su-yi's mouth almost fell open. This was because in front of him, other than the two spiritual pools that had already appeared, there were two more spiritual pools that matched the original two spiritual pools in the four directions of north, south, east, and west. Around the spiritual pool, a hurricane-like energy swept out. In the torn space, spiritual energy drifted. Su-yi could not help but be stunned. What exactly was going on? The situation in front of him was so mysterious that it made Su-yi's hair stand on end as a chill ran down his spine. Once again, he peeked at the mysterious light ball in his mind. At this moment, it was no longer a blur. The light ball had already turned into a small bell that was overflowing with light. The flowing light converged as if it was a bell that had traveled through the ancient times. Su-yi was extremely shocked. At this moment, he was absolutely certain that the transparent bell outside the spiritual pool was resonating with the mysterious ball of light. And this mysterious little bell was the true body of the mysterious ball of light. From the terrifying power that was faintly revolving around the little bell, Su-yi knew that this mysterious little bell was extraordinary. The Origin Supreme technique was born out of this bell. The four spirit pools on the bell corresponded to the positions of the four heaven-suppressing stones. Su-yi looked at the colorful bell in front of him without stopping for a moment. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva and asked Chi Feihong excitedly, "Do you know what this is? What does this bell represent?" Su-yi turned his head, his eyes filled with unconcealable surprise. Chi Feihong squinted his eyes, stroked his beard, and looked at this mysterious ancient bell. He shook his head and said softly, "After passing the soul trial, I have been studying it, but I haven't been able to find anything. I'm afraid you'll have to find the answer yourself." Hearing Chi Feihong's answer, Su-yi's eyes gradually darkened. Chi Feihong was knowledgeable and had a good memory. He was always familiar with everything and treasures in the Tian barbarian continent. If even he didn't know about this ancient bell, it seemed that it had an extraordinary origin. Then, Su-yi shook his head and shot another ray of light at the ancient bell. No matter what, being able to make the mysterious ball of light change was an improvement. From now on, Su-yi had to start looking for the corresponding heaven-suppressing stones for the four spiritual pools in front of him. To others, the heaven-suppressing stones were the highest power, but to him, it was the mystery of his background, or the secret of why he could transmigrate. Over time, after transmigrating to the Tian barbarian continent, it merged with Su-yi's body. The merging of his flesh, soul, and soul made Su-yi forget that he didn't belong to this foreign land for a long time. This land respected the strong, and the law of the jungle made him taste the joys and sorrows of life that he had never experienced on Earth. Here, Su-yi had someone he loved, the Su family, a grandfather who loved him, and parents he had never met before. At the very least, he had to live an immortal life on this Tian barbarian continent for thousands of years. The Long family was his most important target now. Everything that Su-yi did was to eradicate the Long family. His gaze fell on the mysterious space that had finally taken shape. Su-yi took a deep breath and helped Wang Shangwu into it. As soon as they entered the bell, the faint space ripples in the air carried the sound of the golden engraved bell. Su-yi's eyes trembled again. The rich energy was more than a few times richer than the outside of the golden bell. The rippling hazy light continued to spread in the air. Su-yi's heart gradually calmed down. After putting Wang Shangwu into the spiritual pool where the water heaven-suppressing stone was, Su-yi also let himself soak in a spiritual pool. The overflowing spiritual liquid covered him in layers, and ripples of space swept over the top of his head. Sui looked at Wang Shangwu and said softly, "Shangwu, in this life, we have to reach the peak of martial arts and no longer be bullied by others. We have to look down on this world." Wang Shangwu, who was in a coma, lowered his head and groaned. Then, Sui closed his eyes and began to refine the remaining energy in his body. Boom! The invisible energy lingered in the air along with the electric light. If someone was here, they would have crawled on the ground and trembled. The next day, the sky was clear and bright. In the clear blue sky, a few griffins were pouncing on small demonic beasts. The low and shocking roars of demonic beasts resounded through the clouds. The red sun in the distance outlined a brilliant picture for the clear sky. The flowers were fragrant and the sky was sunny. The Cloud Immortal ancient sect was really worthy of the name Cloud Immortal. As Sui and Wang Shangwu pushed open the door, the terrifying aura around them slowly dissipated with the morning breeze. High up in the sky, several griffins were inexplicably terrified, as if their beast souls had been frightened. They prostrated themselves on the ground, then immediately spread their wings and flew away, as if they were fleeing for their lives. Their bodies covered the sky and soared in the sky, setting off gusts of strong wind. In an instant, Sui and Wang Shangwu were invigorated. After soaking in the spiritual liquid for a night, Sui and Wang Shangwu had recovered fully. A terrifying aura flashed across their clear eyes as though they were supreme experts who had descended to heaven and earth. Soon, the two of them retracted their aura. Sui was now at the peak of the 5th level of the Origin Ancestor realm. He was only a step away from the 6th level of the Origin Ancestor realm. Wang Shangwu's 4th level of the Origin Emperor realm had also stabilized. With such cultivation and the Overlord combat body, Sui believed that Wang Shangwu could protect himself even if he wasn't by his side. Sui could finally show his prowess in this trip to the Black Sea. At this moment, Mu Renjia walked out from the corridor and informed Sui and the rest that the Yu clan had already gathered at the Rising Cloud Palace. He had stayed behind to wait for Sui and Wang Shangwu. Looking at the clear sky above, the vast horizon seemed to have been injected with endless power. Sui's heart was filled with arrogance and wanted to erupt. Shortly after, the corner of his mouth slightly curled, and he said in a powerful voice, "Let's go! They can't wait." Chapter 2167. The three of them traveled together. After what happened last night, Sui, Wang Shangwu, and Mu Renjia did not choose to ride on the Yu family's frightening feather griffins. Instead, they chose to fly in the air. Martial artists at the Origin Void stage could already step on the void and share the power of spatial resonance. Therefore, even if he was not very familiar with it, Wang Shangwu still insisted on flying with Sui to the Rising Cloud Palace. When the three of them arrived at the Rising Cloud Palace, the majestic 9 lotus palaces were still occupying the Rising Cloud Plaza. It seemed that there were more people than yesterday. At this time, they were all standing in a certain order on the plaza respectfully. In the inner mansion, the disciples of the 9 families were all standing in their respective lotus palaces. Compared to the other inner mansion and outer mansion disciples, the disciples of the 9 families had a much higher cultivation base. Their energy aura was also much stronger. Under Sui's lead, Wang Shangwu, Mu Renjia, and the rest walked into the plaza. The noisy crowd immediately quieted down. The originally lively crowd suddenly became silent. At the scene, the eyes that were looking at the three of them trembled, as if they were looking at the family head. This made Wang Shangwu feel a little embarrassed. If you want to be strong, these fears and criticisms are the fastest driving force for your improvement. Sui strolled leisurely. His indifferent temperament instantly suppressed the crowd as he spoke to Wang Shangwu beside him. Hearing this, Wang Shangwu's eyes seemed to brighten a little. He instantly puffed out his chest, and an arrogant and unyielding temperament was immediately released. From the eyes of the surrounding onlookers, Wang Shangwu confirmed that he was finally strong to the point where others did not dare to look down on him. And this was all because of strength. In a world where the strong preyed on the weak, there was no mercy to speak of. Passing through the crowd, the three of them once again arrived in front of the Moon Palace. When the Yu family saw Sui coming, they all bowed with their hands folded in front. The second most powerful ancient sect had never been so cordial and courteous to an outsider. Suddenly, envious and jealous gazes shot out from every corner. Yuning stood at the head of the Yu family while Sui stood beside her. Looking around, he did not see Yu Wugo's figure. Seeing Sui, Wang Shangwu, and the others coming over, Yuning opened her mouth slightly before closing it again. She stared at the rising cloud palace in front of her without blinking. However, the trembling of her jade-like hands exposed her fear. Sui sighed in his heart and gave up on the idea of greeting her. Slowly raising his eyes, Sui's gaze fell on the rising cloud palace in the center. The doors were tightly shut. At this moment, the elders' meeting should be taking place inside. Sui stopped thinking about it and stood beside Yuning expressionlessly. Sui, who was still pretending to be Wen Yuan, took the opportunity to take a look at the appearance of the top 10 people on the cloud list. Jingtian Zhan and Yuan Xianfeng were relatively unfamiliar to him. When Sui's gaze met with theirs, Sui felt a kind of indifference and ruthlessness. Among the people that Sui had met, there were countless people who gave him such a feeling. Although indifference and ruthlessness gave people a sense of distance, it did not mean hostility sometimes. When Sui cast his gaze on Lu Linxian, the latter sneered. His malicious eyes revealed a soul-stirring killing intent. From his resentful gaze, Sui could feel that Lu Linxian had intentionally or unintentionally glanced at Ram Starplume and Wu Ma Xiu. What made Sui feel slightly different was that today's Gongyang Xingyu emitted a sense of calmness and confidence from inside out. Even if there was killing intent on his emotionless face, it would disappear in an instant. There must be a demon when things change. Ram Starplume's calmness made Sui feel that Ram Starplume must have experienced something last night. But this was not what Sui was worried about. If a person's mind and temperament could change overnight, the inner demons of martial arts would no longer exist. Even if there was a plan in the face of absolute strength, it was all empty talk. Immediately, Sui chuckled in his heart and his gaze swept around again. The person that made Sui feel the most fear and vigilance finally fell into his eyes. It was Wu Ma Xiu, who was wearing a black robe. Wu Ma Xiu's body only revealed a pair of deep eyes. When he looked straight ahead, others could not guess his true thoughts. At the same time, a sharp gaze was also spying on Wu Ma Xiu. Sui's spiritual sense quickly spread out. Among the vast crowd, Sui could sense that Yun Hanshan, who was known as the #1 ancient sect in front of Rising Cloud Palace, was also spying on Wu Ma Xiu's cultivation. Slightly startled, Sui looked at Yun Hanshan. Yun Hanshan did not seem to expect that Wen Yuan was also probing Wu Ma Xiu. The change in perspective was normal. After the two's gazes met, they quickly looked away. Sui raised his hand and tapped his chin. Soon after, he smiled gently. From the gaze just now, Sui felt a kind of jealousy as a man. Sui's sharp intuition told him that Yun Hanshan had begun to suspect Wen Yuan's identity. Perhaps Yun Hanshan had already regarded Wen Yuan as Sui. In a desperate situation, do you want to save Yunjing or kill Yunjing's sweetheart? Sui's lips curled up slightly. A playful light flashed through his deep eyes. Sister Ning Sister Ning Behind him, Wang Shangwu's low voice sounded. Hearing Wang Shangwu's voice, Yuning turned her head. When her gaze swept past Sui, an imperceptible scar flashed across her face. Shangwu, what's wrong? Yuning asked softly. Don't be angry. We are now comrades in arms. We have to work together sincerely. Wang Shangwu raised his eyebrows. This was an important time. They could not afford to have internal strife. Suddenly, two figures came from afar. Their gazes were like cold swords that forced Wang Shangwu to swallow his words. They were Shintu Shuang and Dongfang Yuan. Dongfang Yuan, who had already heard the whole story, originally worshipped Wen Yuan, but now his face was gloomy as if he was an enemy. Why are you still coming to the Yu family? The entrance to the Rising Cloud Palace is there. Going to the Yun family is like waiting for death, Shintu Shuang said angrily. However, she was pulled back by Yu Ning. Shintu Shuang pursed her lips and stomped her feet. She angrily scolded, Sister Ning, it's already like this. Why are you still helping him? It's not like you can't come to my Yun family and wait. A lively and light voice sounded from the Yun family. Following the direction of the voice, Su Yi and Wang Shangwu's hearts shook. The girl's figure was soft and delicate. Her black hair was even more eye-catching. In a blur, she quickly arrived in front of them. Wang Shangwu shouted in surprise. One of his hands kept pulling Su Yi's shoulder. I see her, I see her. It's Wan. My sister, Wan. Su Yi looked at the girl in front of him who kept coming closer. His nose turned red and his heart was filled with an indescribable warmth. After 5 years, he finally saw his sister Wan. Who could Su Yi talk to about this? Chapter 2168. When Su Wan arrived in front of him, her bright and beautiful eyes were like the world's most magnificent gems, emitting a bright and beautiful luster. Her snow-white face was slightly flushed red, making this incomparably exquisite face even more delicate and beautiful. The Yu family, Shintu Shuang, and Dongfang Yuan's expressions changed when they saw Su Wan and they bowed in fear. A fragrant breeze blew, and Su Wan did not wear a veil today. Like a lively elf, she jumped in front of Su Yi. At this moment, it felt like a lifetime had passed. During the Heavenly Wind ranking tournament, the masked Su Wan was controlled by Yun Zhongli and did not leave his side. Su Yi, who was constantly thinking of her, could only watch from afar and not get close. After Heavenly Wind, when Wan heard that his whereabouts were unknown, she did not know how to comfort him. At that time, Wan must have been extremely sad, right? Now Su Wan was standing in front of him, looking at him with her big watery eyes like stars. How could Su Yi be calm? In an instant, Su Yi felt as if he had returned to his childhood in the Su family. He still remembered that every time he was punished by his uncle and grandfather for being naughty and mischievous, the entire Su family treated him as a jinx and did not dare to approach him. At night, it was Wan who secretly brought him food, and only Wan dared to talk to him. From then on, Su Yi treated Su Wan as his bloodkin. Whenever Su Yi found out that Wan was mistreated or bullied, Su Yi would always be the first to jump out to protect her. Unknowingly, Su Yi had long treated this gentle and beautiful girl as his own little sister. Unsure if it was a natural reaction from this body, or if it was because he was reminded of the past, Su Yi's eyes unconsciously welled up with tears. Su Wan who was in front of him, had a gentle smile on her face. After greeting Dongfang Yuan and the others, she jumped to Wang Shangwu's side. Brother Shangwu, it's great that you're back. Su Wan pursed her cherry lips. Her pale pink cheeks trembled slightly, like a tender flower in early spring. Her faint smile was so beautiful that it almost stole the souls of those who saw it. Immediately, she attracted many fiery gazes from all around. After that, in front of everyone, Su Wan confided a lot of things to Wang Shangwu like an old friend whom she had not met for a long time. Su Wan told Wang Shangwu that when she heard that Wang Shangwu had been kicked out of the Yun family, she couldn't sleep at all. She stared blankly at the white clouds outside the window all day long and missed her time in the Su family even more. At that time, Su Yi, Wang Shangwu, and himself were carefree and happy. Immediately, Wang Shangwu glanced at Su Yi. Both of them looked sad and sighed. If there was anything in the ancient Cloud Immortal sect that was worth remembering, it must be Su Wanner, who treated people with sincerity. Su Wanner was like a piece of white paper, untainted by anything. Whenever he looked at Su Wanner, his bad mood would suddenly improve. But it's all right now. You're back. Let's wait here for Brother Su Yi. Su Wanner tilted her head and smiled. Suddenly, she saw tears in the corners of Wang Shangwu's eyes. After that, Su Wanner moved closer and stretched out her hand to wipe Wang Shangwu's tears. She pouted and said softly, "Shame, shame. Brother Su Yi will laugh at you if he sees you like this. I heard that you were very impressive yesterday. You even have brothers to back you up. After going out, Brother Shangwu has become so powerful." At the mention of Su Yi, Wang Shangwu nodded and pointed at Su Yi, who was in disguise. He sniffled and said, "Brother Shangwu is useless. Sister Wanner, don't laugh at me. That's right, my brother is him. Look, do you know him?" Following Wang Shangwu's gaze, Su Wanner's curious gaze fell on Su Yi. She tapped her lips and looked at the man in disguise in confusion. Shintu Shuang also looked at Su Wanner and was about to blurt out that he was Su Yi. However, she was stopped by Yuninger. Yuninger knew that now was not the time to expose Su Yi. Wang Shangwu was right. No matter how sad Yuninger was, the most important thing was to capture the people from the Long family. No matter what, she could not draw everyone's attention to Su Yi. At this moment, facing Su Wanner, Su Yi felt his heart beat wildly for the first time. In less than 5 years, Su Wanner had actually become so exquisite. Her bright eyes seemed to sparkle with starlight. If not for his powerful soul energy, Su Yi would have already given himself away. After his mind was shaken, Su Yi immediately straightened his expression and said, "Hello, I am Wen Yuan. I am Wang Shangwu's good friend from Yutian Palace." Hearing Yutian Palace, Su Wanner's eyes lit up. Her soft voice was filled with anticipation as she said, "Yutian Palace? Then do you know Brother Su Yi?" Facing such a pure and flawless face, Su Yi sighed bitterly in his heart. He forced a smile and said, "The King of Heaven's pride is far away in Yunzhou. I have not had the chance to pay my respects to him." "Is that so?" Su Wanner's expression dimmed a little. Then, she stared at Su Yi's eyes and said with a smile, "But your eyes are very similar to Brother Su Yi's. I believe you must be a very, very good person." Boom! As soon as she finished speaking, a loud explosion resounded in the sky. Terrifying spatial ripples hovered above the 9 lotus palaces. Suddenly, everyone withdrew their gazes from Su Wanner and looked at Rising Cloud Palace. In front of Rising Cloud Palace, the 9 family masters, powerhouses, elders, and deacons of the ancient sect were all present. The terrifying pressure seemed to be devouring the whole sky. Yun Zhongli stood in the middle. His old eyes were shining brightly, revealing a tyrannical fluctuation of an absolute superior. Yun Zhongli glanced at Su Wanner, who was beside Wang Shangwu, and his eyebrows twitched slightly. Then, he issued a deafening sound wave from his throat, which instantly suppressed the clamor of the audience. "Every family master has told everyone about the Dark Sea impasse. I will not say more. This impasse is aimed at the Cloud List Final. Those who participate in the Cloud List Final need to bring back a fragment of the Dark Sea as a qualification to participate." A fragment of the Dark Sea. Hearing Yun Zhongli's words, everyone became excited. Lu Zhao had already told Su Yi and the others about how helpful the fragments were to the Yun family's martial artists. The fragments of the Dark Sea were the most important clue to the Sea of Nightmare. It was said that just one fragment could help an Origin Emperor Realm powerhouse to ascend to the Origin Ancestor Realm. If an Origin Ancestor Realm powerhouse could comprehend the martial arts techniques hidden in the fragments, he would also gain a lot. In the past 10,000 years, there had been very few people who had really explored the Sea of Nightmare. It was because the Sea of Nightmare was very dangerous. Even the family masters trembled in fear when they talked about it. Their eyes were cold. While everyone's eyes were full of yearning, Yun Zhongli and Yu Wugo's eyes were still scanning the crowd. Chapter 2169. Su Yi and Yu Ning knew that Yun Zhongli was observing the reaction of the Wuma family and any other families that had strange reactions. After a long while, Yun Zhongli took a deep breath and continued, however, "Let me make it clear that if anyone tries to find the Sea of Nightmare with the fragment of the Dark Sea, you will be disqualified immediately. The Yun family will not care about your life or death." Immediately, the other 8 family heads nodded in agreement. The experts and elders also applauded in agreement. The Sea of Nightmare was so dangerous that they might not even be able to find it. There was no need for their disciples to give up the Yun family's grand duel and their precious lives for a legendary sea. Soon after, the patriarchs of the various families ordered their disciples to not take the fragments and search for the Sea of Nightmares. Once they got the fragment, they would rush to the grand duel and hand it over to the elders. Hearing the instructions of the elders, the disciples nodded in agreement. In the crowd, when Su Yi noticed Wu Ma Xiu, the latter also nodded in acknowledgement, not showing any strange expression. In that case, the 9 Lotus Palaces can be teleported to the Great Despair. If you are in the same Lotus Palace, you will most likely be teleported to the same place. Children of the Yun family, go in. In an instant, Yun Zhongli shouted. Thousands of primordial qi lights flew into the 9 Lotus Palaces. Suddenly, a violent whirlwind was set off in the rising cloud square. It was too much for the eyes to take in. After everyone was teleported, Yun Zhongli greeted the family heads and said, "Everyone, let's go back to the Lotus Palace and watch the performance of the children." When the family heads walked past him, Yun Zhongli's mind instantly captured the movement of the family head, Wuma Di. A trace of coldness flashed through the latter's black robe. After nodding at Yun Zhongli, he walked toward the Wuma Lotus Palace. Why is Wan with Su Yi? Why didn't she enter the Great Despair from the Rising Cloud Palace? Yu Wugo, who was standing behind Yun Zhongli, frowned. Yun Zhongli waved his hand and looked at the group of children who had already disappeared. He said softly, "Let her be." Even without Su Yi, she would have followed Wang Shangwu into the Great Despair. Being with Su Yi makes me feel more at ease. With that, Yun Zhongli and Yu Wugo walked into Rising Cloud Palace. Inside the palace, there was a tall energy barrier that covered an extremely wide area. Vast amounts of energy and spirit energy quickly surrounded the spectators inside the Rising Cloud Palace. Under Yun Zhongli's guidance, Yu Wugo and Yun Zhongli arrived at a secret chamber. There was a single energy membrane here, and its dense radiance illuminated the entire secret chamber. With Wan here, Wang Shangwu and Su Yi will definitely not leave her. Wan is a kind of restraint for Su Yi. If he enters the Sea of Nightmare, it won't be a good thing. Yun Zhongli slowly raised his eyes, which suddenly became incomparably fierce. What do you mean? Didn't we agree that no one is allowed to enter? Yu Wugo suddenly stood up and looked at Yun Zhongli, who was gradually becoming transparent. A mystical ray of light disintegrated Yun Zhongli's body. Seeing 2 identical Yun Zhongli standing in front of her, Yu Wugo was immediately dumbfounded. She couldn't tell the real one from the aura. Was this the horror of a half-step Yuan Tian realm expert? Yu Wugo's body trembled slightly. She swallowed a mouthful of saliva and stood there as if she was petrified. Suddenly, a terrifying ripple of wind swept out from Yun Zhongli's body. It was violent and domineering. Their voices echoed in Yu Wugo's ears. "Wugo, I'll leave the matter of the Long family and the Wu family to you. There is another thing waiting for me. The Sea of Nightmare is my destination." The Sea of Nightmare? Yu Wugo's old eyes flickered. Yun Zhongli sent everyone away, but he wanted to enter the Sea of Nightmare himself? Why? What is more important than catching the remaining members of the Long family? Yu Wugo calmed down and asked in confusion. Yun Zhongli waved his hand and said with a wry smile, I also want to be a good father. Yun Jing, Wanner, I owe them too much. Even that stupid boy, I owe him too much. I just hope that I can get something in the Sea of Nightmare this time. But you are the only half-step Yuan Tian realm expert in the Yun family. If something happens to you, what if the Long family comes to attack us? Yu Wugo hurriedly stepped forward. She was so anxious that she didn't know what to do. Yun Zhongli smiled and said softly, half a step away from Yuan Tian realm. Do you know how difficult it is to take half a step away from Yuan Tian realm? Suddenly Yu Wugo was stunned. She heard Yun Zhongli's sigh. I have been cultivating for more than 20 years, but I didn't make any progress. On the contrary, that bastard Draconis is infinitely close to the real Yuan Tian realm. Thinking back to the ranking battle in Tianfeng, although he was worried about Yun Jing, he didn't want to participate in the ranking battle. However, Draconis's strength still shocked Yun Zhongli. No one had ever reached the peak of the martial path, so no one knew what the real Yuan Tian realm was like. However, Yun Zhongli was confident that he knew better than anyone that he was a half-step Yuan Tian realm expert. Even if he was a half-step Yuan Tian realm expert, Yun Zhongli knew that he was at most a small completion realm expert, while Draconis had already reached the great completion realm. The gap between the two was like a huge ravine. It was said that the Sea of Nightmare could satisfy all human desires, and there were countless beautiful treasures in it. It would be best if he could find the whereabouts of Yun Jing and that stupid boy's wife, Wen Fu. At the very least, he could go into the Sea of Nightmare to fight for some strength for the Yun family. This time, Yun Zhongli had no choice. After saying that, Yun Zhongli sighed heavily and said to Yu Wugo, the Sea of Nightmare is very dangerous, but I have to go. I will leave my doppelganger here to prevent it from being discovered by others. If the Wu family makes a move, immediately kill it. In the entire ancient sect, only your Yu family has the strength to do this. After I go in, you can also mobilize the Yun family. Please. As soon as he finished speaking, the entire secret chamber instantly darkened, and when she opened her eyes again, Yun Zhongli had disappeared without a trace. Looking at the expressionless doppelganger, Yu Wugo looked at the image reflected on the energy light film and couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Su-yi, Ning-er, don't let me down. Yu Wugo said faintly, her eyes fluctuating. Legend had it that the Limbo Sea was originally an ancient continent, and it was extremely mysterious. At this time, Su-yi, who had landed in a valley, could feel that the surrounding Ling Qi was very oppressive. Perhaps it was because the density was too high, but Su-yi felt that he couldn't breathe. As soon as Su-yi landed on the ground, the origin supreme art in his body unconsciously swelled up and began to circulate in his body as if it had a spirit. Phew! This ancient continent really lives up to its name. The heaven and earth energy here is many times denser than the outside world. Chapter 2170. Su-yi condensed a seal in his hand, and the mysterious bell in his mind spun rapidly. Waves of boundless qi circulated around his body. The smooth and free vital qi in his body seemed to have found a direction, and the pores all over his body opened up. Su-yi exclaimed in joy, and his eyes were clear. Looking at the surrounding environment, the sky was hazy, and the accumulated white clouds were like cotton candy. The ground was full of spiritual qi, and all kinds of exotic flowers and herbs were everywhere. It turned out that Su-yi had been directly transported to a fertile land. Looking at the spiritual herbs and spiritual roots that he had never seen before, Su-yi put them all into his interspatial bag without caring about anything else. In the mysterious space, Qi Feihong was like a country bumpkin entering a city. Along the way, he was amazed and surprised. Boy, only the spirit-nourishing mud is left. Maybe there will be some here too. Also, pay attention to the Huanyang leaf. Anything can exist in the ancient continent of 10,000 years ago. Qi Feihong smiled and looked at the precious herbs in front of him excitedly. Hearing this, Sui nodded and quickly spread his spiritual sense around. Strangely, his spiritual sense, which could cover a radius of thousands of feet, was suddenly reduced to a radius of a few hundred feet. The boundless heaven and earth were filled with spiritual qi. It was like a miasma in front of him, full of mystery and mystery. The rules of space here restrict the range of my spiritual sense. Sui frowned and shrugged. If his spiritual sense was limited, wouldn't the others be even more limited? On second thought, the radius of a few hundred feet had become his advantage. Sui breathed a sigh of relief. Let's find Wan or Yuninger and Wang Shangwu first. Sui muttered. In such an environment, the wisest choice was to fight as a team. Judging from his probing before the competition, the Wu family, the Gong family, and the Lu family had probably reached some kind of agreement. If so, he had to find Wan and the others as soon as possible. Whoosh! Sui shuttled through the dense forest like an agile monkey. The more he spied on this continent, the more Sui could feel the vastness of this continent. Suyi's illusory figure was faintly discernible in the clouds. After flying close to the ground for a long time, Sui finally rested for a while. After flying for half a day, there was still no sign of Wang Shangwu and Su Waner. On the other hand, the Jing clan and the Yuan clan saw quite a lot of people. They followed their usual style of doing things alone and followed the rules of the impasse to search for traces of the Dark Sea fragment. People from the Jing and Yuan clans were constantly informing each other about the treasures they found and the whereabouts of the Dark Sea fragments. At this time, Sui felt that if he had a way to communicate with Wang Shangwu, Su Waner, and the others, he wouldn't be unable to find them in this vast sea. There was no medicine for regret in this world. Suyi's eyes moved slightly. A fierce and ancient aura filled the air once again and quickly escaped into the clouds. On the other side, on a mountain peak surrounded by clouds, the people of the Gong family and the Lu family were all gathered here. A cunning look flashed through Lu Linchuan's eyes. Brother Xingyu, we have become allies in the end. I said before that the strong will always be with the strong. Lu Linxian laughed cruelly and looked coldly at Ram Star Plume with a playful expression. Ram Star Plume sneered and looked at Lu Linxian with contempt. He shouted, "Stop being so long-winded. Wu Ma Xiu said that he would help me kill Sui here. As long as Sui is dead, I don't want to know anything else about you. I will only go look for the fragments of the Dark Sea and participate in the Yun family's final battle." Looking at Ram Star Plume's disdainful face, Lu Linxian suddenly shook his head and said, "Being the third brother all year round, even if your grandfather agrees, I won't agree. Brother Xingyu, does your Gong family want to be suppressed by the Yun and Yu families for generations?" "What do you mean?" Ram Star Plume said coldly. Lu Linxian curled his lips and a cold murderous intent shot out from the corner of his eyes. He said faintly, "Whether we can overthrow the Yun family and become the strongest ancient sect, whether we marry Yun Jing or Yuninger, isn't it all up to you?" Ram Star Plume clasped his hands behind his back and narrowed his cold eyes. He was somewhat silent. "What exactly do you want to do?" Ram Star Plume sucked in a breath of cold air. He felt as if he had boarded a pirate ship and he shuddered. Lu Linxian laughed and looked up at the mystical light in the sky. He lowered his voice and said, "Kill Sui, kidnap Su Waner, and hand her over to the Long family to threaten Yun Zhongli. The Wuma family will enter the Dark Sea. At that time, we will be able to take the resources of the entire Yun family under the command of Lord Dragon God. Isn't this good?" Suddenly, Ram Star Plume was petrified. It turned out that the Wuma family's real purpose was to kidnap Waner. The Long family, there was actually the Long family's matter. He didn't expect that the Lu family and the Wuma family had already sided with the Long family. At that time, Wu Ma Xiu had only reached a plan with him to kill Su Yi. Ram Star Plume turned around and angrily shouted at Lu Linxian, "You are deceiving your master and destroying your ancestors. This is betraying your ancestors. I won't do it. Don't even think about it." Even if he was cruel and merciless and wanted to get rid of Su Yi quickly, he would not do such an immoral thing. After saying that, Ram Star Plume flicked his sleeves and was about to leave when an extremely cold voice faintly came from behind him. "Didn't you see the eyes of Su Yi and the family master today? Even if you want to escape now, you can't." Lu Linxian sneered and looked at the angry Ram Star Plume. At this time, it was not a matter of whether Ram Star Plume was willing or not. Everyone was in the same boat, and no one could leave each other. Didn't you dream of killing Su Yi? Moreover, what you are doing now is creating history. The Yun family will be revitalized from your hands. Think about the nightmare sea that you have never been to. The peak of martial arts that looks down on the world? What is Yuninger and what is Yunjing? Suddenly, a trace of hesitation flashed across Ram Star Plume's pale face, and his tightly knitted eyebrows almost connected into a straight line. "You and I will be responsible for killing Su Yi. After Wu Ma Xiu finds the Nightmare Sea, he will inform us." Seeing that Ram Star Plume's attitude had loosened, Lu Linxian said gloomily, "In such a vast Nightmare Sea, where can we find traces of Su Yi?" Ram Star Plume asked back, his eyes emitting a cold light. Immediately, Ram Star Plume continued to ask, "How can just the two of us be enough to restrain them? Since spiritual sense is useless here, the traditional method of searching seems to be very useful. Later, I will spread the news that Wen Yuan is Su Yi. Su Yi is a person that everyone in the Yun family wants to kill. Moreover, I also know what Su Yi wants. When the time comes, he will definitely take the bait." A strange cold light flashed across Lu Linxuan's eyes. Chapter 2171. In the end, Ram Star Plume took a deep breath and slowly raised his eyes. Boundless murderous intent surged as he said to Lu Linxian, "Su Yi must be killed by me personally." In a small valley, a gentle breeze was blowing. The chi flowers and jade grass were emitting divine spiritual energy. A group of 2 men and 3 women was walking slowly in the valley. The group of 5 was Wang Shangwu, Su Wan Yuning Shintu Shuang and Dongfang Yuan. This small group had only met half a day after entering a desperate situation. At this moment, Shintu Shuang and Dongfang Yuan were leading the way. Wang Shangwu pulled Su Wan and followed carefully in the middle. Yuning brought up the rear. "We were teleported here randomly. I wonder where the others are." Shintu Shuang raised her bow and cut down the vegetation in front of her. She raised her eyes and looked around cautiously. For these people whose psychic senses have almost been reduced to the lowest value, they are like hunters exploring in a dangerous jungle. Every movement of the grass in the wind may be the signal of the arrival of danger. Until now, we have not seen any traces of the Wu Ma family. Could they really be from the Long family? Dongfang Yuan's eyes were piercingly cold as he looked around like a searchlight. Su Wan had also heard about the true intention of the Cloud List Great Battle from the group. Suddenly, her eyes trembled and her face turned pale. "Brother Shangwu, don't be afraid. I am already at the 8th level of the Origin Emperor realm. If there is any danger, I will protect you." Su Wan held tightly onto Wang Shangwu's arm. Her face was resolute as though she was brimming with beautiful radiance. Wang Shangwu chuckled. Just as he was about to speak, he was suddenly alarmed by Yuning shout. "Be careful!" In front of him, Yuning quickly placed the jade flute in front of her lips. A tyrannical sound wave was set off, pushing away the clouds in front of her. In a flash, figures appeared in front of the valley. They were none other than the people from the young master's mansion and the Liu family. There were a total of 40 to 50 people. Oh, enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road. To think that we would meet you here. Senior Sister Yuning, how are you? Looking at Yuning, the people from the young master's mansion were the first to speak. The ridicule and mockery made Yuning frown. What are you trying to do? Do you want to get beaten up instead of looking for fragments? Shintu Shuang frowned. She held the peerless crossbow horizontally across her arm, revealing a faint coldness. Humph! The leader of the group snorted coldly at Shintu Shuang. In a place like this, no one would care whether you were a big miss or a little princess. As long as he was alone, he could only become the prey of others. Seeing that there were only 5 people in the group, the corners of the mouths of the people from the young master's mansion sank, and they laughed even more gloomily. On the opposite side, Yuning frowned. Her beautiful eyes were filled with tears and her voice was neither friendly nor distant. She said, "The heavenly roll great battle has not started yet. You are violating the rules, right?" Rules? You still want to talk about rules with me when we're in a desperate situation? The elites of the young master's mansion and the Liu family changed their docile appearance from before. They also took out their weapons, and rays of golden light flashed out from their hands. Suddenly, the disciples of the Liu family shook the primordial qi in their hands, and a fierce aura instantly filled the air. They said loudly, "Hand over your little lover, Wen Yuan." How would we know Wen Yuan's whereabouts? Nothing good comes out of a dog's mouth. Dongfang Yuan said unhappily. The giant axe in his hand also drew a bright arc in front of him. The flames flew, and it was indescribably fierce. Damn it, where are the people from the Peerless Arrow Troop, the Moon Jade Valley, and the Fire Lotus Gang? Shintu Shuang spat. The group of people in front of them were the elites of the young master's mansion and Rickamon. They were completely different from the group of people from the eastern mountain boundary. After saying that, the people from the young master's mansion and Rickamon curled the corners of their mouths. Immediately, the primordial qi in their hands was quickly arranged. Their killing intent was awe-inspiring, and a cold aura instantly swept across the area. Since you don't know, I'll capture you and hand you over to my senior brother. Naturally, I'll force that brat out. After saying that, 40 to 50 figures moved together. In an instant, primordial qi attributes covered the sky and earth, condensing into light pillars that blasted towards the 5 people. Bang bang bang! The violent energy cut through the air, and the pressure caused the space to ripple endlessly. Very quickly, the entire valley shook, and the mountains collapsed and the ground cracked. Seeing the light pillars exploding above the 5 people's heads like crazy dragons, Yuning shouted and no longer hesitated. She stepped forward, followed by Shintu Shuang and Dongfang Yuan. Kill them! Dongfang Yuan's eyes widened, and his fierce killing intent instantly shocked many people present. In an instant, light burst out from Yuning, Dongfang Yuan, and Shintu Shuang's hands. Sound waves, axes, and crossbows were all released. Bang bang! The energy that could topple mountains and overturn seas swept across the sky, and the fierce shock waves from the 2 sides collided in the air. After a few collisions, the air was filled with evil and fierce aura. The wind swept across, and the ancient valley exploded with a dull roar. For some reason, this time, the young master mansion and Rickamon seemed to have rehearsed half of the battle, and their coordination was shockingly high. The energy of 40 to 50 people was actually on par with the defensive line of Yuning-Er's group. Even though the cultivation of the young master mansion and Rickamon was much lower than Yuning-Er's group, they seemed to have the upper hand. Behind them, Wang Shangwu and Su Wan-Er were not idle either. When they were about to charge forward, Yuning shouted, "Go! Go find Wen Yuan, find the Moon Jade Valley and Peerless Arrow Squad, and get them to support us!" Seeing that Wang Shangwu and Su Wan'er were about to escape, some people from the young master mansion separated. A few fierce disciples' eyes widened, and they were furious like wild beasts. They shouted coldly, "Want to run? Don't even think about leaving today. No matter if it's Su Yi or Wen Yuan, we must catch them today." Terrifying Yuan Qi surged out once again, and a huge handprint burst out from the hands of the 3 disciples of the young master's mansion. The space in front of them suddenly twisted together. "Go quickly!" Dongfang Yuan suddenly appeared in front of Wang Shangwu and Su Wan'er and blocked the fierce palm print. As the palm print fell from the sky, the space in the battlefield was like a stormy sea, and ripples were densely packed. Dongfang Yuan's body was also blasted far away with a dull explosion. His feet sank into the ground, and he directly rubbed a large distance. Boom! A deep sound like thunder, and a strong wave rose up. Su Wan'er's hair fluttered, and she was shocked by the scene in front of her. Suddenly, Su Wan'er raised her arm and was pulled forward by Wang Shangwu. "Su Yi Gij!" Su Wan'er's clear eyes flashed with a trace of surprise as she looked at the fierce battle in front of her. She clearly heard the people from the young master mansion call out Su Yi's name. Wen Yuan was Su Yi? The familiar person just now was Su Yi Gij? Su Wan'er could not help but be stunned, and her misty eyes were filled with doubt. Chapter 2172. Let's go. Sister Wan'er. Let's get reinforcements. Wang Shangwu shouted at the top of his lungs. Primordial qi surged under his feet, and he was extremely anxious. Glancing at Yuning, and the rest in the battle zone, Wang Shangwu used his body movement technique that he was not very familiar with. Ignoring Su Wan'er, who was in a daze, he forcefully pulled her away. Yuning, who was in the midst of a fierce battle, flipped the jade flute in her hand continuously. Waves of powerful origin grandmaster sound waves spread out. Suddenly, everyone's eardrums shook. A huge amount of soul energy caused the space to tremble. Powerful waves rolled back and forth, and the entire valley collapsed and shattered. At this moment, Yuning noticed that Wang Shangwu and Su Ning had already left. Finally, she squeezed out a gratified smile. Yuning and the other 2, who looked solemn, also began to retreat. The 40 to 50 elite disciples in front of them cooperated closely, and their attacks were smooth. It was obvious that the Gongyang family and the Lu family had planned this beforehand. Yuning did not expect the other party to come so quickly. Even though the 3 of them were in the top 10 of the cloud roll, it was difficult for 2 fists to fight against 4 hands. If this continued, they would not be able to hold on. Facing the terrifying aura, Yuning looked at Dongfang Yuan and Shintu Shuang, who had already climbed up behind her, and shouted angrily, Shuang, brother Yuan, look carefully. These people are all traitors of the ancient sect." In the next second, Yuning firm voice quickly sounded in Shintu Shuang and Dongfang Yuan's ears. She said softly, "I will block them in a while. If you can leave, go and get reinforcements." After saying that, Yuning beautiful figure flashed, and her graceful body crossed the space. Then, she shook her wrist, and the powerful sound waves tore the space in front of her apart again. The aura was terrifying. Terrifying energy swept out, and the 3 of them once again burst out with a terrifying energy storm to fight against it. The violent energy halo broke through the encirclement of the young master's mansion and Rickamon once again. Behind them, Wang Shangwu and Su Wan'er, who were running wildly, had been restraining their auras. The 2 of them had no direction to speak of, and they could only run wildly into the distance. The destructive aura that filled the sky behind them was getting further and further away, and the sound that seemed to shatter the void had disappeared. The 2s of her lungs, and U-erzes of her lungs, and U-ers of her lungs. Of primal cheeses. Of primordial cheese, S's of the of s, of this ofs, The his. Looking into the distance, all he could see were forests and forests. In the distance, there was a hazy fog. In such a strange environment, enemies could attack at any time. Sus. Wan. Find reinforcements and go back to save Senior Ning. Wang Shangwu reminded her. Suddenly, Su Wan turned her head and walked lightly. Her beautiful face was covered in tears. She looked at Wang Shangwu and said softly, "Brother Shangwu, tell me." "Tell you what?" Wang Shangwu turned his head and avoided her gaze. He knew what Su Wan was thinking along the way. Wen Yuan is Brother Su Yi, isn't he? Tell me, isn't he? Su Wan burst into tears. From the start, Wan was wondering how there could be someone in this world whose eyes were so similar to Brother Su Yi's. But, why didn't Brother Su Yi acknowledge her when he came to the ancient Cloud Immortal sect? The people from the young master's mansion and Rikkamon were clearly here to kill Su Yi. There was no doubt that Wen Yuan was Su Yi. Looking at Su Wan-er's sorrowful face, Wang Shangwu's heart ached. He told Su Wan the whole story. No one had expected that Su Wan would participate in the Yun family's battle. She did not stay with the Yun family, but went to the Moon Palace with Wang Shangwu. Su Wan had unknowingly become a variable in the entire plan. If everyone in the ancient sect knew that Wen Yuan was Su Yi, Su Wan would be implicated and be in great danger. Moreover, there were people from the Long family in this desperate situation. If it was Su Yi, he would not say anything if he could let Wan know less. No one had expected the situation to develop to such a serious stage. Hearing this, Su Wan lowered her head and wept. She shook her head and said softly, "I've grown up. I can also help Brother Su Yi. I'm not afraid." Then, a few tyrannical spatial ripples spread out from the void outside the dense forest. Wang Shangwu immediately pulled Su Wan to lie prostrate on the ground. Their bright eyes pierced through the dense branches as they stared fixedly at the distant figures that were shuttling back and forth. "It's the disciples of the inner and outer families outside the 9 families." Wang Shangwu took a deep breath. In the blink of an eye, several groups of people had passed in front of them. A few hundred people filed out in front of them. Every disciple's face was filled with anger and excitement. This was the first time they had seen such a scene. "Quick! Find that bastard Su Yi. Hand him over to the people from Rikkamon and the young master's mansion. Su Yi, we can finally settle the score with Yu Ning. Are you trying to kidnap all of our goddesses? Everyone, let's go. Brothers, let's kill Su Yi first. When the time comes, the people from the 9 families will find the fragments for us and give them to me." On the plains, the sound of the wind of primordial qi blew. It was like a black shadow flying past. The huge energy storm caused Wang Shangwu and Su Wan to be shocked. Why are they also looking for Brother Su Yi? Su Wan covered her mouth. According to the situation, almost all of the inner and outer family disciples and the people from the 9 families had stopped looking for the fragments and turned to look for Su Yi. Suddenly, Wang Shangwu's face turned ashen. He clenched his fist and slammed it on the tree trunk. He roared, "Damn it! Lu Linxian and Ram Star Plume, those 2 bastards, must have known that Wen Yuan was Su Yi. They only spread the news now. They are really murderous." Wang Shangwu finally understood why Lu Linxian could endure when Rikkamon was bullied to this extent. It turned out that he had been waiting for this moment. Then what should we do? Brother Su Yi is too dangerous. Su Wan who was already sobbing, had already disregarded her life and death. Her sad eyes were filled with worry. Wang Shangwu patted Su Wan lightly and signaled her to calm down. The 2 of them immediately retracted their qi. After everyone had left, they prepared to set off to find Su Yi. When they walked to a landslide, Wang Shangwu and Su Wan felt a strong wave of primordial qi. Spirit nourishing mud. Found it. We finally found the spirit-nourishing mud. At the bottom of the landslide, the 3 disciples were very excited. Yes, let's quickly hand it over to Senior Brother Tianjin. Inform everyone that we have found the spirit-nourishing mud. Let's go. After saying that, the 3 of them looked at each other and smiled. The light in their eyes flickered. A ray of primordial chi light shot into the sky, revealing a saber pattern. Chapter 2173. Under the light, the 3 of them quickly flew into the distance, and no longer stayed. It's the Jing clan. They found the spirit-nourishing mud. Wang Shangwu pulled Su Wan down the slope and exclaimed, "What is that?" Su Wan was a little puzzled. Wang Shangwu's eyes flashed and he said softly, "That's the herb that Su Yi has been looking for." Then will Su Yi Gij go to the Jing clan because of the spirit-nourishing mud? Su Wan was delighted and said softly. Wang Shangwu nodded. The Jing clan and Yuan clan had always been independent and didn't have much contact with the other clans of the 9 clans. Among the many people chasing Su Yi just now, he didn't see anyone from the Jing clan. The words of these 3 people from the Jing clan could still be believed. Immediately, Wang Shangwu nodded heavily and raised his eyebrows at Su Wan and said softly, "That's right. If we follow them, we might be able to find Su Yi. Let's catch up to them." The 2 of them were full of joy and looked forward, following the remnant Yuan Qi aura and quickly entering the clouds. After flying for less than a quarter of an hour, a fierce aura suddenly appeared in the air, and the large clouds were instantly destroyed. Bang! The void trembled. By the time Wang Shangwu and Su Wan realized that something was wrong, it was already too late. Above their heads, a Yuan Qi light net enveloped Wang Shangwu and Su Wan. "Let us go!" Wang Shangwu roared. No matter how he struggled, the light net only tightened. "Let us go, I am Su Wan How dare you!" Su Wan-er's eyes were also cold as she angrily looked at the 3 people descending from the sky. The 3 of them were the Jing clan members from before. The leader had an evil smile on his face and his tall and thin body was like a sharp blade. He looked at the 2 people trapped in the net and said, "Ha ha ha." Just now, he felt that someone was following him. "Brothers, let's capture them. Let's first find Lu Linxian to receive our reward, and then find Senior Brother Tianjin." "How dare you!" Wang Shangwu roared. Then, the leader of the group slashed down with his saber. A mighty light broke through the air, but it was blocked by Wang Shangwu's body. Su Wan who was being protected by Wang Shangwu, suddenly showed fear in her eyes. She quickly checked Wang Shangwu's injuries. "Brother Shangwu, how are you?" She placed her palm on Wang Shangwu's back. Her palm was instantly stained with blood. Su Wan-er's eyes were filled with tears. "I'm fine. Wan-er, don't cry. Brother Shangwu is here." Wang Shangwu sucked in a breath of cold air. The Jing clan's disciple had at most used the strength of a 6th-level origin monarch for that move, but it was enough to make Wang Shangwu's skin and flesh churn and make him break out in cold sweat. "Take him away. With this little ability, you still want to be a hero and save the damsel in distress." The Jing clan's disciple violently kicked Wang Shangwu's wound again. Blood spurted out and Wang Shangwu couldn't take it anymore. He grimaced in pain. "Let's go." Seeing that Wang Shangwu was no longer resisting, the 3 Jing clan's disciples waved their hands. Essence Qi gushed out as they grabbed Wang Shangwu and Su Wan and brought them to other places. Su Yi, who was also searching for Wang Shangwu and Su Ning crossed several mountain peaks and valleys. Along the way, hundreds of inner and outer palace disciples were frantically searching for Su Yi's traces. Su Yi had no choice but to slow down. Along the way, the inner and outer palace disciples had already seen the Jing clan and Yuan clan constantly attacking. In the Moon Jade Valley, the Peerless Arrow Squad and the Fiery Lotus Gang were all fighting with the inner and outer palace disciples. The entire Profound Sea Despair suddenly became chaotic. At present, no one was searching for the Profound Sea Despair, and he had suddenly become the target of public criticism. Until now, there were only 4 clans that Sui hadn't seen. They were the Yun clan, the Wu clan, the Rickamon clan, and the Gongyang clan. The Yun clan was constantly watching the Wu clan, but he hadn't seen anyone from the Wu clan or the Yun clan. There was only one possibility: the Wu clan and the Yun clan weren't in the center of the Profound Sea Despair. Lu Linxian, this news is well spread. Su Yi's eyes were cold and murderous. His body was surging with an extremely tyrannical battle intent. After helping the Moon Jade Valley deal with the last wave of Inner Palace disciples, the Moon Jade Valley's disciples told Su Yi about it from the other Moon Jade Valley disciples. The Jing clan had a squad that had found Su Wan and Wang Shangwu. Impossible, Shangwu and Wan wouldn't expose their identities so easily. Su Yi's eyes suddenly darkened. A bad premonition crept into his heart. The Moon Jade Valley and the Peerless Arrow Squad looked at each other and said respectfully, "The Jing clan and Yuan clan never cared about these things. I heard from the other sisters that this squad was originally ordered to find the spirit-nourishing mud." Suddenly, Su Yi's footsteps slowed down. If they were captured because of the spirit-nourishing mud, everything made sense. "Then do you know where the Jing clan went?" Su Yi quickly asked. "Looking at the direction they went, it seems like they went to find Lu Linxian." The Peerless Arrow Squad disciple nodded. Suddenly, Su Yi's blood rushed to his head. The surging killing intent in his body made Su Yi go berserk. "Rickamon, everyone from the Gongyang clan must die," Su Yi muttered in his heart. Su Yi's eyes trembled. In less than half a day, the 2 clans had moved so quickly. Looking into the distance, Su Yi fiercely said, "Go and help Yu Ning. If you encounter any pursuers, kill them immediately." At this time, Su Yi had also completely removed his disguise, revealing his handsome and delicate face. His eyes were as deep as the abyss, shooting out rays of cold light. A berserk aura spread out from Su Yi's body, causing the hearts of the Moon Jade Valley's members to tremble. They were so shocked that they were speechless. When they looked up again, Su Yi had turned into a mighty flame and was heading in the direction of Rickamon. "Is he really Su Yi?" The Moon Jade Valley disciples were inexplicably shocked. Looking at the residual flame aura in the sky, the void directly shattered inch by inch, unable to recover. The ripples in the air made it hard for everyone to regain their senses. No one had expected the legendary Su Yi to be so young. I can understand why Miss Yunjing likes Su Yi. He's not bad looking and his martial arts are even more amazing. I would like him too. Don't be infatuated. Go and save them. Interrupting the Moon Jade Valley and Peerless Arrow Squad disciples' reverie, the woman who had just spoken frowned and ordered. At this time, Su Yi, who was rushing into the distance, had his aura soared to the extreme. His heart was like a volcanic rock that was about to erupt. The terrifying aura from his body was about to burn and devour the entire space. The destructive aura covered the sky and earth. When he encountered the Inner Palace disciples and other clans, Su Yi directly took one in each hand without any nonsense. Finally, after dealing with 2 groups of people, Su Yi confirmed the location of Rickamon. His eyes were ferocious and cold. Su Wan and Wang Shangwu were Su Yi's reverse scales that could not be touched. Su Yi would definitely pay back those who hurt them. Thinking of Su Wan's pure eyes, Su Yi's heart suddenly ached. Chapter 2174. A terrifying aura spread across the sky. Su Yi, who was within the flames, shouted in a low voice, "Lu Linxian, Ram Star Plume, I swear I'm not a human if I don't tear out your tendons and rip your bones out." Boom! Su Yi shouted and immediately channeled all his strength at the peak of 5th level origin ancestor realm. Heaven's might surged around him, and his aura was as vast as a desolate giant beast. In the next second, Su Yi's figure dashed towards where Rickamon was. Dark clouds gathered on a spacious hill, and the atmosphere was gloomy. People from Rickamon and the young master's mansion had gathered there, and there were a total of 1 to 200 people. There were also many inner mansion disciples and outer mansion disciples who seemed to have subconsciously sided with Lu Linxian. Lu Linxian, who was in the middle, had a proud look on his face. The illusory white mist no longer existed, and countless terrifying auras hovered above it. Various lights formed from origin chi flashed behind the expert. In an instant, the entire sky was filled with radiance, and the number of fierce people increased. If there was anyone else present, they would have been scared out of their wits. There were 1 to 200 people, and their cultivation auras were huge and terrifying. They were all at the 5th level origin emperor realm and above. Lu Linxian looked at Wang Shangwu and Su Wan'er on the ground lazily and coldly. Wang Shangwu, who was a little dispirited due to his injuries, had been protecting Su Wan'er under him. He couldn't help but gasp when he saw the huge number of experts. "Don't be afraid, Wan'er. They won't dare to hurt you." Wang Shangwu comforted Su Wan'er, who had a cold look in her beautiful eyes, within the light net. Bang! A powerful kick landed on Wang Shangwu's shoulder. With a crack, Wang Shangwu's thick and strong arm was forcefully dislocated. The intense pain made Wang Shangwu's veins bulge. His eyes widened, and the roar from his throat made Su Wan'er tremble. A hero saving a damsel in distress. I'll let you be the hero and save the damsel in distress. Why don't you take a look at yourself? You want to learn from Su Yi and save Yuning, Among the 3 Jing family disciples, the leader had a ferocious look in his eyes as he fiercely raised the saber in his hand. The swift and fierce edge of the saber made everyone present shiver. Seeing that the Jing family's children started to hit Wang Shangwu again, Su Wan'er hurriedly stood in front of Wang Shangwu to protect him. "Shangwu Gij! You bastards! The Yun family will not forgive you!" Su Wan'er glared at them with her beautiful eyes, gritted her teeth and cursed. "The Yun family?" Lu Linxian smirked. "With the Wu family holding them back, how could the Yun family come?" "Pah! Yun family! Ask Yun Hanshin to come. Let's see if he dares to come." Lu Linxian had a charming smile as he looked at Su Wan'er and Wang Shangwu with satisfaction. Lu Linxian slowly walked out from the main seat of the crowd. He looked at Su Wan'er and Wang Shangwu from bottom to top and said with pity, "Ai Wan'er, you and your sister are both outstanding beauties. How can you be so blind?" Extending a slender finger, Lu Linxuan's gaze fell on the tip of his finger. His gaze instantly turned cold as he said, "But why did you fall for that bastard Su Yi?" Crack! Under his foot, Wang Shangwu's right arm was kicked off by Lu Linxian. The crisp sound of bones breaking caused the eyes of the disciples present to tremble. Boundless murderous intent spread through the air, causing everyone to break out in a cold sweat. Hiss! Fine beads of sweat continuously appeared on his forehead. Wang Shangwu's nose was filled with cold air as he looked at Lu Linxian with resentment and laughed wildly. Ah! Arrogant laughter rolled out from his throat. Wang Shangwu lowered his eyebrows and looked at everyone present. He angrily said, "You can't even carry Su Yi's shoes. A group of deceiving and destroying ancestors, a group of beasts that obliterate human relations." Suddenly, the 3 disciples of the Jing family quickly exploded. Like a torrential rain of heavy kicks mixed with vitality, they crazily landed on Wang Shangwu's body. "Kill him! What right does this useless ant have to criticize us? Yes, kill him! Everyone has the right to kill Su Yi. Impersonating Wen Yuan's name and sneaking around. Those who are with him are not good people. Kill this trash!" Everyone who was touched by Wang Shangwu couldn't help but curse. The more the Jing family disciples fought, the angrier the crowd became. Ha ha! A group of trash. Come on. Beat your grandpa Shang Wu. Let's see if we can beat your grandpa Shang Wu to death. Within the net of light, Wang Shangwu was like a mad lion. Blood energy lingered around him, adding a bit of ferocity and might. He tightly protected Su Wan under his body. No matter how fierce the three disciples of the Jing family were, Wang Shangwu always completely protected Su Wan. The muscles on Wang Shangwu's face trembled, but he didn't frown anymore. Big brother Shangwu. Su Wan who was curled up in the corner, had tears in her eyes. She was so angry that her body trembled slightly. At this time, there was no one to respond to his cries for help. Of the 1 to 200 elite disciples present, except for the people from the young master's mansion and Rickamon, the others were all attracted by Su Yi. As long as Su Yi came over, he would be walking into a trap. Don't come over, big brother Su Yi. You can't come over. Su Wan tightly grabbed Wang Shangwu's arm and whispered. After half a breath, the three disciples of the Jing family finally stopped and spat at Wang Shangwu. Then, he bowed and flattered Lu Linxian, who had his hands behind his back. Senior brother Lu, we've already taught Wang Shangwu a lesson. What about the Dark Sea fragment? Slowly turning around, Lu Linxian raised his chin and looked away from Wang Shangwu. He said with satisfaction, "Well done. But I heard that you found the spirit-nourishing mud?" Suddenly, the three disciples of the Jing family looked at each other. The leading disciple was in a difficult position. He smiled and said, No. How could we find such a divine item like the spirit-nourishing mud?" Before the disciple could finish speaking, Lu Linxuan's body exploded. A ray of light surged out of his palm. Suddenly, a violent wind attribute energy flipped the two disciples to the ground. The fierce energy wind was like a blade that directly cut the throats of the two disciples. The moment they fell to the ground, everyone was shocked. The frightened disciples instantly knelt on the ground and trembled as they breathed in cold air. Their eyes were blank. "I'll give you one more chance. Hand over the spirit-nourishing mud." Lu Linxuan's eyes were as cold as a poisonous snake's. Yuan Qi surged out of his body and wrapped around the disciple in front of him. "I." The disciple swallowed hard. This time, it was the disciple's turn to break out in cold sweat. Bang! At that moment, dozens of Yuan Qi rays rapidly approached from the distance. Two origin ancestor auras swept across the sky and landed on the ground like violent dragons. Jing Tianzhan and Yuan Xianfeng. Lu Linxian narrowed his eyes and sized up the two people who had arrived in front of him. Their clothes were tattered and they were in a sorry state. It was obvious that they had encountered a lot of attacks. Now, in the entire Dark Sea, Rickamon and Ram Starplume had used the Dark Sea fragment as a lure and Su Yi as bait. More than 90% of the inner and outer palace disciples had obeyed them. Chapter 2175. Dongfeng, Shintu, Jing clan, Yuan clan, and Yu clan were ambushed one after another. These two were able to break through the heavy encirclement and arrive here. Senior brother Tianzhan. Sensing Jing Tianzhan's aura, the only surviving Jing clan disciple instantly cried in pain and crawled to Jing Tianzhan's side. "Senior brother, save me. This Lu guy didn't keep his word. This is spirit-nourishing mud, take it. Consider it my filial piety to you." Grabbing Jing Tianzhan's thigh tightly, the Jing clan disciple's face was filled with great regret. Slap! A whip leg fiercely kicked the Jing clan disciple. Jing Tianzhan's fourth-level origin ancestor realm aura was incomparably violent, instantly knocking him out. Jing Tianzhan coldly frowned. His palm curled into a claw, and an enormous suction force instantly sucked the spirit-nourishing mud into his pocket. "Lu Linxian, what are you trying to do with so many people? Are you ignoring the ancient sect's rules?" Jing Tianzhan's golden saber was held horizontally in front of him. In the vast and mighty void, Jing Tianzhan and Yuan Xianfeng frowned at the same time. What's the point of talking nonsense with this kind of scum? Kill him! In the name of the ancient sacrifice sect. Ferocious gazes flashed in their eyes. A sharp sound of wind being torn apart flashed from Yuan Xuanfeng's hand, and then a claw light violently blasted towards Lu Linxian like an impact cannon. You have some ability. Lu Linxuan's eyes narrowed. Yuan Xuanfeng's attack was so fierce, but he was unhurried. His feet moved mysteriously, and with a bend of his waist, he dodged the green claw light. Suddenly, Lu Linxian straightened up, flicked the dust off his shoulder, and a ferocious expression flashed past his eyes as he glared at Jing Tianzhan and Yuan Xianfeng. Do you really think I'm afraid of you? Last time on the sky roll, I let you step on my head. You really think you're a master? Yuan Xianfeng sneered. The claw gloves flickered with a green light, and a monstrous energy spread out from his body like an arc of light enveloping heaven and earth. In an instant, the violent wood attribute energy caused a large area of space in front of him to warp. Even if it's Sui, it's none of your business. Instructing so many disciples to accompany you to capture Sui. You even tied Miss Wanner here. Don't want to live. Jing Tianzhan's murderous aura as he similarly spread out like a storm. Kid. My clans and Yuan Xuanfeng's men will be here soon. No matter what scheme you have, I'll chop you alive today. Reverence Heaven Behead yelled. As soon as his voice fell, without any delay, a strange light appeared around the revered Heaven Strike. In an instant, sword shadows filled the air in all directions. Go! At the same time, the elite disciples behind Jing Tianzhan charged forward. Powerful origin chi filled the air and blasted toward Lu Linxian. Zap! The Zhan, Feng, Xianfeng, Feng, Xianfeng, Feng, and the Zhan the wind, the wind. Amidst the chaos, Lu Linxuan's speed skyrocketed due to the wind attribute spatial boundary, and he retreated like a white storm. All inner and outer sanctum disciples, listen up. The Yuan clan and the Jing clan have colluded with Sui, that scum. Leave half of the young master's mansion and Rickamon behind. Kill Yuan Xianfeng and Jing Tianzhan. Because of the Dark Sea fragment and the attraction of Sui, the experts behind Lu Linxian rushed forward, blocking and intercepting. Soon, countless sounds of metal clashing resounded throughout the world. Above the void, colorful Yuan Qi lights swept across the world. All kinds of Yuan Qi forms and spatial enchantments filled the sky. Countless streams of light were like vast stars. The entire void was turbulent, and the heavenly might was astonishing. This was a large-scale battle between origin emperors and origin ancestors. In the Yun family's 10,000 years of history, this was the first time something like this had happened. The earth-shattering net of light weaved into a huge net, and every attack seemed to impact the net of light. In an instant, the world shook, and sparks flew in all directions. A large area of space collapsed inch by inch, and pitch-black spatial cracks were formed. The surrounding void, and everything that could be seen, turned into ruins because of this terrifying and destructive energy. Only Wang Shanwu and Su Wanner, who were on the ground, were expressionless. It was as if everything that was happening in front of them didn't belong to them. Ha! Wang Shanwu, who was bleeding from the corner of his mouth, let out a muffled groan. Finally, with the help of his Yuan Qi, he was able to reconnect his arms. His eyes twitching, Wang Shanwu whispered to Su Wanner, Sister Wanner, let's go. As the caster of the net of light had already fainted, the Yuan Qi restriction in front of them naturally no longer existed. Wang Shanwu wiped the dark red at the corner of his mouth. With a gentle tug, the restriction on his body disappeared without a trace. Su Wan-er's eyes flickered as she was pulled to her feet. She looked at Wang Shanwu, her eyes burning. Su Wan-er nodded heavily. Let's go. Wang Shangwu shouted angrily as he glanced at the shocking scene behind him. Su Wan'er was no longer in a daze. The two of them stepped on the ground at the same time, unleashing the violent strength of the Origin Emperors in their bodies, and dashed into the distance. There was only one word in their minds: run. At the same time, they prayed in their hearts that Su Yi wouldn't come over. In an instant, Wang Shangwu and Su Wan'er dodged the mysterious shockwaves in the space. They ran for another 10 miles before finally stopping to rest for a moment. At this moment, a sinister voice sounded behind them. Wang Shangwu and Su Wan'er were petrified on the spot, and all the hair on their bodies stood on end. Lu Linxian! Wang Shangwu exclaimed softly. Turning around in disbelief, Lu Linxuan's hair fluttered in the wind, and he was in a rather sorry state. He was shaking the blood-stained space bag in his hand and looking at him with a sinister look. "It's the spirit-nourishing mud!" Su Wan'er exclaimed. Her eyes suddenly widened, and shock and horror filled her eyes. Slowly withdrawing his gaze, he carefully distinguished Lu Linxuan's aura. Wang Shangwu was sure that Lu Linxuan's aura was much stronger than before. To be able to increase his strength in such a short time, he must have used some secret method or taken some medicinal pill. Otherwise, it was impossible that even the Reverence Heaven Slash and Yuan Xianfeng couldn't defeat him. Wang Shangwu took a deep breath. His stocky body suddenly straightened, and he spread out his arms to protect Su Wan'er. "Wan'er, I'll hold him back in a while. Hurry up and leave." Su Wan'er's eyes were filled with astonishment, and the misery of being separated by life and death welled up in her heart. Her moon-like eyes were incomparably resolute as she said in a low voice, "If we're going to leave, we'll leave together. If we're going to kill, we'll kill together." Standing in front of Lu Linxian, Su Wan'er's aura also instantly skyrocketed. She formed a mysterious hand seal, and the light cyan attribute of vitality whistled around her body. With a resolute expression, Su Wan'er no longer chose to escape. Since the matter had already reached this point, and the Yun family had already made such a big fuss, as the eldest miss of the Yun family, Su Wan'er couldn't back down. "Yo, little sister Wan'er is serious. Big brother has to be a bit more protective of the fairer sex. If you break it, my heart will ache." Lu Linxian faced the sky and laughed loudly. His laughter was filled with obscenity and despicableness. Chapter 2176. Lu Linxuan's terrifying airwaves expanded and engulfed the flat ground as soon as he finished speaking. A large area of the void rumbled and shook. Lu Linxuan's eyes turned cold as he said in a sinister voice, "Then I will kill you first, trash. Wan'er, even if I can't get your sister is still willing." Immediately, Lu Linxian, whose strength had skyrocketed, took a step forward. The long sword in his hand trembled slightly, and a tyrannical sword light seemed to split the heaven and earth apart. It rapidly shattered the space along the way and forcefully separated Wang Shangwu and Su Wan'er. The solid ground instantly trembled, and a terrifying ravine that was dozens of feet deep was instantly formed. At the same time, Lu Linxian once again unleashed his wind attribute energy. His ghostly figure rapidly approached Su Wan'er. In midair, Lu Linxuan's constantly expanding body was like an eagle pouncing on its prey as he eagerly grabbed at Su Wan'er. "Be careful, Wan'er." Wang Shangwu, who was several feet away, instantly widened his eyes as he berated loudly. His attack was ferocious. If Su Wan'er was caught by Lu Linxian, everything would be too late. Su Wan'er's pupils contracted abruptly as a murderous intent gushed out from her hateful gaze. Although her innate talent was extraordinary, Su Wan'er had never had any actual combat experience. Although her cultivation had increased in the past 5 years, Su Wan'er had never sparred with anyone of the same generation. Seeing Lu Linxian rushing in front of her, Su Wan'er yelled delicately. Light and shadow circulated in her hand, and the wood attribute energy around her surged like wooden arrows towards Lu Linxian. Ding! Ding! A sharp metallic sound echoed. Su Wan-er's attack was blocked by Lu Linxuan's spatial barrier. In the eyes of Lu Linxian, whose strength had skyrocketed from the 8th level of the Origin Emperor realm to the peak of the 5th level of the Origin Ancestor realm, he was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. The ferocious spatial attribute radiance lingered, and the tyrannical energy enveloped the space. No matter how much Wang Shangwu attacked, he was unable to cross the spatial energy. Bang! Bang! Instead, he was blasted to the ground time and time again. Blazing murderous intent surged in Wang Shangwu's eyes, but Wang Shangwu couldn't do anything at that moment. Once again smashing a huge pit that was more than 10 feet in size. His body was covered in bruises and was covered in wounds because of the huge energy had completely exploded. Wounds. Amidst his fierce gaze, Lu Linxian had already arrived beside Su Wan. A huge pressure locked onto her, trapping her in place and making her unable to move. Don't touch her! Don't touch her! Wang Shangwu clenched his teeth, and his dispirited face was filled with hatred. Don't come over! Su Wan panicked. She had never imagined that within the 9 families, there would actually be such a person with no grade. Her delicate figure trembled as her jade-like arm was grabbed by Lu Linxian. Lu Linxian narrowed his eyes as he licked the back of his hand with a scarlet tongue. He was intoxicated. You have the same taste as your sister. Such a disgusting action scared Su Wan out of her wits. Huge, sparkling and translucent teardrops gushed out like a spring. She struggled with all her might, but she felt that her body and soul were no longer under her control. This was the difference between the Origin Ancestor realm and the Origin Emperor realm. Under the sinister energy radiance, Su Wan-er's face was filled with despair. Don't touch her, bastard! Wang Shangwu bellowed behind her. His broad body that was covered in blood magically stood up again. In the blink of an eye, it was as though time had stopped. Wang Shangwu's body rapidly erupted with a violent energy. The energy beneath his feet moved abruptly and struck Lu Linxuan's back like lightning. Bang! After being struck by a huge force, the surrounding void instantly exploded because of the energy shockwave. Lu Linxuan's entire body fell forward. When his energy loosened, Su Wan-er immediately broke free. Bastard! Stinking bug! I'm going to kill you! Lu Linxian, who was in pain, roared with resentment and malice. Just as he finished speaking, a white mystic bird image appeared behind Lu Linxian and said to Wang Shangwu, Trash, I'm going to leave you with your last breath. Watch how I taint your sister. Yun family, Su-yi, watch me. How can their treasures be worthless in front of me? GG. The mystic bird spread its wings and flew over. The spacious space along the way was once again shattered into fine powder. The entire void was distorted to a strange degree. A hurricane surrounded it, and everything would be swallowed and strangled in the next moment. No. Su Wan-er, who had broken free, rushed toward Lu Linxian. Halfway there, her entire body suddenly froze. Bang! Wang Shangwu, who had activated the earth attribute, turned earthy yellow all over his body, like a sturdy barricade. But when the mystic bird approached, the sand all over his body also receded, like flowing water flowing through his body. Bang! In midair, the sound of the explosion was like thunder. The space directly exploded, and a vast shock wave spread and reverberated. When he looked at Wang Shangwu again, he was already lying on the ground on the verge of death. Lu Linxian sneered and turned to look at the despairing Su Wan. He slowly approached her step by step. Behind him, a painful groan quickly came. In the deep pit, the bloody figure staggered to his feet. Everyone knew that Wang Shangwu no longer had the strength to fight back. Even the strength to breathe was extravagant. Swaying, he couldn't stand steadily at all. Wang Shangwu raised his swollen, blood-red eyes, and a chill burst out from his throat. He said, "I said, don't touch her." After being interrupted again, Lu Linxian was annoyed. He turned around and looked at Wang Shangwu, who was still alive. The corner of his mouth twitched. "You're still alive." Before he finished speaking, Wang Shangwu's figure instantly disappeared in the air. In the next second, he directly appeared in front of Lu Linxian. He hugged Lu Linxian by the waist. It was unknown where he got the strength, but Lu Linxian couldn't break free. He only felt that Wang Shangwu's aura was suffused with rolling pressure. The huge soul pressure made Lu Linxuan's soul tremble along with it. "Run! Wan!" Wang Shangwu shouted himself hoarse. His entire face couldn't be distinguished. As he spoke, he shouted at Wan. Su Wan, who was kneeling on the ground, trembled like a rabbit. She shouted, "Big Brother Shangwu! Big Brother Shangwu!" At this moment, facing Wang Shangwu, who was fighting with his life, Lu Linxian was also a little flustered. A terrifying force swept out from his palm. The mighty energy shot out from his elbow and continuously hit Wang Shangwu's back. Bang! 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 "Let go! Let go for me! You trash! Get lost!" Lu Linxuan's eyes were filled with anger. Each hit was heavier than the last. However, Wang Shangwu was like steel and refused to let go. "Pua!" Wang Shangwu kept shaking his head. Blood spurted out from his mouth. The sunken ground in front of him was like a pool of blood. It was scarlet and eye-catching. "Run! Run!" Wang Shangwu didn't have much strength to speak. He could only look at Su Wan through the gap of his swollen eyes. "Bastard! Let go of Big Brother Shangwu!" Su Wan struggled to get up. Wang Shangwu laughed bitterly. "Find Su Yi and avenge me!" Bang! Lu Linxuan's heavy attacks were still ongoing. Seeing that Su Wan was about to leave, the strength in his hands became even more terrifying. Chapter 2177. "You piece of trash! Let me go!" Lu Linxian screamed. His shrill voice was like that of an eagle's, extremely terrifying. He continuously bombarded Wang Shangwu's back. Every time he broke free, Wang Shangwu would grab onto him again. From the bloodline, there seemed to be an unparalleled power that allowed Wang Shangwu to hold on. This was the power from the bloodline, and more importantly, it was the protection from Wang Shangwu's heart. "Go! Have you forgotten what Big Brother Shangwu is best at?" Wang Shangwu still maintained his posture of hugging his waist. His bloody mouth was slightly hooked as he looked at Su Wan. Even though his face was deformed, Su Wan could feel the warmest light in Wang Shangwu's eyes. He desperately wanted her to leave. If she continued to delay, she would be letting him down. Shangwu hugged Lu Linxian tightly. This was the best opportunity for both of them. Finding Su Yi was the wisest method. Looking at Wang Shangwu's dripping blood, Su Wan's moon eyes viciously looked at Lu Linxian. The corner of her mouth sank as she coldly said, "Lu Linxian, when I come back, I will definitely bury you in Rickamon with me." Gritting her teeth, Su Wan wiped the tears from the corner of her eyes. She stepped on her yuan qi and flew into the depths of the void. "Let go! You piece of trash!" Seeing that Lu Linxian had already left, Wang Shangwu's hands were still hugging him. Lu Linxian roared angrily. Using his hands and feet, he lowered his elbows and raised his knees, crazily hitting Wang Shangwu. Bang bang bang! Spitting out another large mouthful of blood, Wang Shangwu finally loosened his grip. Seeing that Su Wan was nowhere to be seen, he suddenly raised his head and laughed wildly. "Lu Linxian, you can't beat Su Yi. You can't even compare to Grandpa Shangwu." His voice was weak, but it reverberated throughout the space. Seeing that Wang Shangwu couldn't hold on any longer, Lu Linxuan's aura exploded. His eyes were filled with rage, as if he wanted to kill Wang Shangwu at any moment. He shouted, "Do you think she can run away? Why don't you try?" As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Shangwu clenched his right fist and punched his forehead with all his might. Wang Shangwu's body instantly straightened up. Several heavy roars resounded, and several mysterious runes appeared on Wang Shangwu's forehead. Endless terrifying aura instantly seeped out of the void and enveloped Lu Linxian. A terrifying golden light rushed out from his body, making Lu Linxian extremely fearful. This aura. Lu Linxuan's eyes trembled slightly, and he suddenly felt a terrifying thought. Boom! The space trembled out of thin air, and Wang Shangwu's entire body burst with the sound of bones shattering. If Su Yi was present, he would be able to tell at a glance that Wang Shangwu was overdrawing his body and blood essence to activate the tyrannical emperor's battle body. The power that had been accumulated through the tyrannical emperor's seal was all released at this moment, and the tyrannical emperor's battle body was once again revealed. The entire space suddenly froze, and the desolate and overbearing aura made people feel as if they had fallen into an ice cave. At the same time, golden lightning flashed above his head, and the wind and clouds surged in the space. The mighty heavens might rolled endlessly. This is... Lu Linxuan's gaze instantly fell on Wang Shangwu. Surrounded by the divine light, Wang Shangwu was like an overlord that had descended, sweeping in all directions and slaughtering the 9 heavens and 10 lands. For some unknown reason, Wang Shangwu's cultivation aura had directly increased by a large level, and he was infinitely close to the strength of a 5th-level origin ancestor. Such terrifying strength made Lu Linxian tremble in fear. "Today, I will sacrifice my body to the ancient sect. I won't lose anything by destroying you." Bang! Wang Shangwu's golden eyes flashed with killing intent. At this moment, Wang Shangwu's speed directly broke through the air, reaching an unimaginable level. For no reason, Lu Linxian's heart trembled. In a short moment, Wang Shangwu held the 2 5-element hammers tightly in his hands, and 5 types of dazzling light suddenly spread around his body. Spirit Lord Tyrannical Sealing Force, Absolute Kill! Wang Shangwu roared, piercing through the air, filled with boundless tyranny that could destroy heaven and earth, broke through layers of shackles, and the heavy hammers directly smashed toward Lu Linxuan's face. "So what? Do you think you can defeat me just because your cultivation has increased?" Lu Linxian roared, and his huge body shattered the void, bringing along billowing white gas as he instantly charged toward Wang Shangwu. Mystic Wind Myriad Technique, 1000 Feather Slash. As soon as Lu Linxuan's voice fell, the mystic bird behind him stepped across the space, and the longsword in his hand continuously released dazzling light. Boom! In an instant, countless white birds turned into endless sharp lights and charged toward Wang Shangwu. As soon as the sword light was released, the light along the way collapsed and obliterated a large area of space. Seeing that one move was not enough, Wang Shangwu roared and blasted out another destructive aura from his hand. Break! Bang! Everything happened in an instant. The second wave of hammer force instantly stirred up the space vortex, and the fierce and murderous heavens might instantly swallowed the storm into nothingness. The endless heavens might permeated and shrouded the area, as if the golden light had materialized and surged continuously, and the rolling storm rippled and swept across. In the next second, Lu Linxian, like a bird with broken wings, fell heavily to the ground, and the power of space disappeared instantly. He looked at Wang Shangwu in front of him as if he had seen a ghost. This was the real murderous aura, enough to destroy heaven and earth, and destroy all living things. How can he be so strong? Lu Linxuan's eyes widened in horror, and he spat out a mouthful of purple-black blood, and his throat rolled endlessly. Whoosh! At this time, Wang Shangwu discovered that in the distant void, 2 figures were fighting. In midair, Two violent and tyrannical primordial chi surged, and Wang Shangwu exclaimed, "Wan Er!" A dull sound was heard, and Wang Shangwu stepped on the ground, and golden light rippled, and he instantly joined the battle in the air. Bang! The giant hammer blasted out again, smashing out a fierce light. Wang Shangwu directly blocked Su Wan Er behind him, and looked ahead. It turned out that the one chasing after them was Ram Star Plume. At this time, Lu Linxian also caught up, and looked at Ram Star Plume and said, "Is it all done?" Ram Star Plume glanced at Wang Shangwu and then said, "The elders in the Great Despairs have been controlled, and it's up to Wu Maxia now." Lu Linxuan's evil charm was full of excitement, and then he said, "Then only Su Wan Er is left. Use her to threaten old Man Yun, and when Wu Maxia knows the secret of the Great Despairs, we will leave." Wang Shangwu's eyes moved slightly, and the unshakable light was full of solemnity, and he said fiercely, "You two beasts." Ram Star Plume touched his chin and sneered, "You are Su Yi's brother, right? Where is Su Yi? Why didn't he come to save you?" "I'm afraid Su Yi can't even save himself. So many people are chasing after him." Lu Linxian sneered, and his eyes moved as he said, "Don't be so long-winded, kill this strange kid. Su Wan Er, give me some time to play." Gong Yang Xingyu frowned when he heard this, and then he said coldly, "Make your move. Wan Er, leave quickly." Wang Shangwu whispered in the light. Ram Star Plume and Lu Linxian looked at Wang Shangwu, who was surrounded by golden light, and smiled evilly. "Do you think you can still leave?" Ram Star Plume and Lu Linxian were at the 6th level and 5th level of the Origin Ancestor realm. Chapter 2178. On the other hand, Wang Shangwu and Su Waner were only Origin Emperors. Even if Wang Shangwu activated the tyrannical Emperor's war body, it would still be difficult for him to fight against two Origin Emperors. Wang Shangwu and Su Waner both knew that the current situation was extremely serious. Their eyes were gloomy as they looked at each other coldly. Under the cover of the light, Wang Shangwu frowned as his fearful gaze hovered back and forth between Ram Star Plume and Lu Linxian. "Don't be afraid, Waner." Immediately, Wang Shangwu's body shook as a huge human emperor's domineering aura spread out from his body. His hands were clenched tightly, and there were continuous explosions. At this moment, Su Waner and Wang Shangwu stood side by side, and there was no longer any fear in their starry eyes. Instead of sitting and waiting for death, it was better to fight head-on. In this desperate situation, Ram Star Plume and Lu Linxuan's subordinates were everywhere. Only by fighting to the death could they have a chance of survival. Wang Shangwu and Su Waner's attitude made Lu Linxian click his tongue in wonder. However, their status in cultivation did not attract too much attention. Even if they had the heart to fight to the death, Lu Linxian and Ram Star Plume looked at each other and did not take it to heart. Suddenly, Lu Linxian narrowed his eyes and shouted, "Go! This kid is a little strange." At the same time, Ram Star Plume's eyes were cold as killing intent surged all over his body. It was as if he was venting all his hatred for Su Yi on Wang Shangwu. In a short moment, Ram Star Plume and Lu Linxian moved together and suddenly exploded on Wang Shangwu's body at an extreme speed. "Back off, Waner!" Wang Shangwu shouted as the attacks in his eyes grew larger and larger. Wang Shangwu's sea-shattering armor, which had long been cracked, was set up like a withered tree in spring. His face, which was originally dim, suddenly shone with a golden radiance, and a gravitational force erupted from his body. Immediately after, Su Waner was violently pushed back by Wang Shangwu's strength, falling from the sky like a leaf. In the void, Su Waner, who was in the middle of the storm, had an incomparably sorrowful expression. She looked up at Wang Shangwu, Ram Star Plume, and Lu Linxian as they fought. Su Waner floated down like a catkin. A teardrop gradually flowed down from the corner of her eyes. She pursed her lips tightly and her chest heaved up and down. Until the very last moment, Wang Shangwu was still using his life to protect himself. Bang! On the flat ground, Su Wanner, who was wrapped in the Overlord's chi, landed steadily on the ground. With misty eyes, Su Wanner watched the void rumble. She knew that Wang Shangwu's strength had skyrocketed. If she went forward, she would definitely become a burden. However, she couldn't let go of this hanging heart. The light in her eyes was crazily beating along with Wang Shangwu. In just a few breaths of time, the void was turbulent. The terrifying aura was gloomy and cold, and the faint stars, sun, and moon in the sky rotated with the airflow. Boom! With a long roar, Wang Shangwu's huge golden phantom stood proudly in the sky like a human emperor. His imposing figure looked down on the 9 heavens. Wang Shangwu's heavy hammer was activated again and again, using the Spirit Emperor Overlord's peak to the extreme. Wang Shangwu's aura was ferocious like a god of war. Following which, a terrifying spatial storm swept through the world. Shangwu Gij is actually so strong. Su Wanner, who had never seen Wang Shangwu erupt, was stunned. Her eyes were filled with surprise and joy. But soon, as Wang Shangwu continued to release his Overlord's chi, Ram Star Plume and Lu Linxian gradually grasped Wang Shangwu's Tian Lu. The two of them surrounded Wang Shangwu in a pincer attack. Like ghosts, their figures swam back and forth around Wang Shangwu. The fierce and tyrannical power of space was actually evenly matched with Wang Shangwu. Black Wind Myriad Technique, Thunder Break. Jade Clear Heaven and Earth Secret Art, Thousand Eras Annihilation. Ram Star Plume and Lu Linxuan's eyes were wide open as they roared ferociously. The Yuan Qi in their hands was constantly emitting light as they aimed at Wang Shangwu's weak point. Suddenly, the two of them raised their speed to the extreme and attacked Wang Shangwu from the left and right. Wang Shangwu, who was in the middle, was currently in a berserk state. His abnormal offensive and defensive power made it so that he did not care about the moves and routines, and could freely use them. Facing the pincer attack of the two, Wang Shangwu was furious. His 2 hammers exploded, and with a domineering aura, he struck back. Boom! The 3 types of energy collided, and the energy between heaven and earth was like thunder. The huge hammer wind and the Yuan Qi phantom collided in the void. Suddenly, a pitch-black spatial crack appeared in the surroundings, and the ripples of Yuan Qi suddenly spread out like a tsunami. At the same time, Ram Star Plume and Lu Linxian withstood the huge pressure and looked through the spatial crack. Ram Star Plume said, "Brat, you only have 1 type of brute force. Take advantage of the opportunity. Take him down in 1 fell swoop." Brother Shangwu. Su Wanner, who saw everything clearly from below, covered her mouth and exclaimed. Without any hesitation, she rushed into the void. In a flash, a dazzling light burst out from the void, and the ancient and boundless aura instantly dissipated. Bang! Wang Shangwu was fiercely pushed back by the 2 forces. Immediately, Lu Linxian sneered. A swift and violent sword light cut through the vast sky, and like a sword breaking the sun, it directly pierced into Wang Shangwu's heart. Go to hell. Su Yi's lackey. Ah! Lu Linxuan's wild laughter was exposed from his deathly white pupils. In his sinister smile, his killing intent was not restrained at all. He constantly rotated the sword in his hand, and only the sound of flesh and blood being minced could be heard in the air, causing people to raise their eyebrows. Bang! Ram Star Plume rushed over from the left and kicked in the air. An explosive blast of air trampled on Wang Shangwu's back. Suddenly, the sea-collapsing armor turned into a rain of light and dissipated. Wang Shangwu, who was injured on top of his injuries, once again spat out a large amount of scarlet blood. Then, the huge tiger body fell heavily on the ground. A large expanse of flat ground cracked and exploded. Deep pits were formed like a string of cannons, and a terrifying mist of blood poured over the ground. The scene was incomparably bloody. Wang Shangwu, who was lying in the middle of the ruins, was like a man of blood. His face was as pale as paper. "Brother Shang-wu, Brother Shang-wu!" A miserable scream sounded. It was Su Wanner, who had flown over in a panic. As soon as she landed, she lay beside Wang Shangwu. She was terrified, and her face was full of tears as she cried incessantly. Su Wanner was lying on top of Wang Shangwu, who was lying in a pool of blood. Wang Shangwu's breathing was weak, and there was only a trace of life left on his dispirited face. Her snow-white palms rubbed Wang Shangwu's body back and forth. Su Wanner was trembling non-stop. At this time, not only were Wang Shangwu's meridians damaged, but even his bones had been shattered to the point that they couldn't be broken anymore. How could he still have a chance to live? What Su Wanner didn't know was that Wang Shangwu, who had the Overlord battle physique, was barely able to fight against Ram Starplume and Lu Linxian. His weak foundation had already made it difficult for Wang Shangwu to hold on. What supported Wang Shangwu was faith, protection, and the responsibility and passion in his heart. Not for anything else, but for the fire in his heart. Even if he died, Wang Shangwu would grit his teeth and fight until the moment when Su Yi came to save Wanner. Wang Shangwu, whose eyes were filled with tears and blood was constantly flowing out, Su Wanner was trembling all over. She was at a loss as to what to do. Shaking her head continuously, the heartbroken Su Wanner trembled incessantly. She quickly took out a blood-stained medicinal pill from her space bag and fed it to Wang Shangwu. Chapter 2179. Brother Shangwu, eat it quickly, you will be fine after eating it. Su Wanner's hands were stained with blood. How could she care about anything else? She wiped the corners of her eyes and immediately urged the wood attribute energy to catalyze the elixir into an energy ball for Wang Shangwu, who could not move. We still have to go back to Barbarian City. We just found Brother Su Yi. Brother Shangwu, get up. The wood attribute energy spurting out from her hands was intermittent. Su Wanner had already cried until she was out of breath. Slowly opening his eyes, Wang Shangwu's eyes revealed a trace of a smile. His pale face was like a walking corpse. Under the dusky sky, the birds and beasts scattered, and the gloomy sky was filled with the whimpering sound of the wind. In the gloomy air, it was so quiet that only Wang Shangwu's gasps and Su Wanner's lamentation could be heard. "Silly sister, don't cry. Don't let them see a joke." This sentence was said for more than 10 breaths. Hearing this, Su Wanner held back her tears and was extremely distressed. Su Wanner pursed her lips tightly. Her palms were still healing Wang Shangwu's injuries. The bloodstains on her palms were as eye-catching as roses. "Brother Shangwu, Brother Su Yi will come to save us." Su Wanner's lips trembled, and the energy in her hands turned into a soft energy that adhered to Wang Shangwu's exposed heart. His heartbeat was getting slower and slower, making Su Wanner even more distressed. At this time, there was an unusual and inexplicable domineering aura in his heart that was resisting Su Wanner's energy. Su Wanner's silver teeth were about to be crushed. She angrily looked at Ram Starplume and Lu Linxian in front of her. At this time, the two had also landed on the ground. The folding fan in their hands swept back and forth. Ram Starplume's eyes were gloomy, and a sneer hung on the corner of his mouth. Beside him, Lu Linxian leaned on the hilt of his sword with one hand and bent his body. He spat at Wang Shangwu on the ground and said darkly, "Trash will always be trash. Who do you think you are? Do you really think you can overturn the heavens just because of Su Yi? Bah!" Lu Linxian glared fiercely at Wang Shangwu, ridiculing him. "Lu Linxian, Ram Starplume, Big Brother Su Yi will never let you off." Su Wanner's entire body trembled. Her small face was slightly red, and tears streamed down her cheeks. At this moment, she was focused on treating Wang Shangwu. Unable to move, she could only glare at the two of them. "Where's Su Yi? Where's Su Yi?" Ram Starplume sneered, his eyes sweeping around. Yo. Senior brother, when you're angry, tsk, there's a different kind of charm. Lu Linxian stroked his chin, and his eyes swept up and down like flames. At this time, Su Wan was somewhat flustered. Her voice was childish as she anxiously said, Lu Linxian, what do you want to do? Feeling Lu Linxuan's footsteps approaching step by step, Su Wan-er's voice was filled with suppressed killing intent, and a trace of fear surged. On the contrary, Lu Linxuan's gloomy and terrifying eyes were brimming with excitement and excitement. Only his saliva was not dripping down. Looking at Lu Linxuan's appearance, Ram Star Plume instinctively frowned. He turned around and whispered, "Let's end this quickly. In a while, Su Yi will really come." With his back turned, Ram Star Plume prepared to find a few nearby disciples to inquire about Su Yi's whereabouts. Before he could walk a mile, he heard a sound like a violent storm exploding behind him. Bang! A terrifying aura of destruction swept through the world. Ram Star Plume suddenly froze in place, his eyes filled with fear. A terrifying thought immediately surged in his mind. To be able to launch such a strong attack, it was definitely a peerless expert. Following that was an incomparably mournful scream. Turning around mechanically, Ram Star Plume's gaze instantly froze. He saw Su Yi standing in front of Lu Linxian, a scarlet heavy sword hanging in front of him. His gloomy eyes were like an endless abyss, coldly looking at Lu Linxian on the ground. Looking at Lu Linxian again, there was blood between his legs. His hands were separated from his body, and he was lying on the ground like a white worm wriggling crazily. Suddenly, Ram Star Plume's eyes flashed with a trace of seriousness. The Su Yi in front of him had actually reached the peak of the 5th level of the Origin Ancestor stage. Looking at Su Yi's eyes across the air, Ram Star Plume's soul actually trembled involuntarily. Imperceptibly, his legs had already been intimidated by Su Yi's enormous soul pressure. Looking at Su Yi, Ram Star Plume actually could not move an inch. Glancing maliciously at Ram Star Plume, Su Yi did not say anything and directly raised his heavy sword, directly stabbing it into Lu Linxuan's crotch. Raising his leg, he lifted the dead Lu Linxian towards Ram Star Plume. Brushing past Ram Star Plume's body, Ram Star Plume subconsciously closed his eyes. When he raised his eyes again, Lu Linxian beside him had already been split into several pieces. What a strong attack! This guy! How can he be so strong? At this moment, Ram Star Plume, who had long been afraid, twitched his sinister face slightly as he struggled to move his body. Su Yi Gij. Su Wan immediately withdrew her aura, picked up Lu Linxuan's space bag, and threw herself into Su Yi's arms. Suddenly, Su Yi, who finally found Su Wan and Wang Shangwu, felt his heart soften. His indifferent eyes turned into guilt and apology. Touching Su Wan-er's head, Su Yi sighed and said in a low voice, "Sorry, I'm late." At this moment, Su Wan-er could finally cry out loud. She said to Su Yi Gij, Shangwu Gij. After saying that, she laughed and sobbed again. Squatting down together with Su Wan-er, Su Yi endured the pain in his heart. Looking at Wang Shangwu lying on the ground, his eyes became incomparably gloomy. A wave of hatred gradually surged into Su Yi's head. The boiling flames almost made Su Yi go berserk. However, Su Yi still controlled his temper and checked Shangwu's injuries. With a cold frown, Su Yi found that Wang Shangwu's meridians, flesh and bones had all been shattered to the extreme. If Su Wan-er had not protected his heart in time, he was afraid that when he saw Wang Shangwu again, he would already be a stiff corpse. His gaze fell on Wang Shangwu's broken body. With a red nose, Su Yi directly summoned the mysterious space. Whoosh! Between the spacious heaven and earth, the mystical radiance of energy suddenly filled the entire place. Su Yi, who had never displayed the space in front of everyone, directly lifted Wang Shangwu up. He turned his head and glanced at Gong Yang Xingyu, who was still in the same place. The corner of Su Yi's mouth moved slightly. "Wait for your death," Su Yi shouted in a low voice. "This is..." Witnessing the mystical scene in front of him, the wind and thunder sweeping across the sky, and the spiritual space that was filled to the extreme, Ram Star Plume was also stunned. Chi La. Su Wan was also surprised. Following Su Yi into the God Clock, Su Yi put Wang Shangwu into the spiritual pool. "Uncle Hong, please take care of him." Su Yi's face was gloomy. He looked at Chi Feihong and then forced a smile to Su Wan beside him. "Wan be good. Uncle Hong will accompany you here. Leave the rest to me." After saying that, Su Yi withdrew the mysterious space. When Su Yi turned and left in the spiritual pool, Wang Shangwu's heart, which was soaking in the spiritual liquid, beat slightly. A trace of golden light disappeared in the spiritual liquid. Chapter 2180. The world once again became dark, and the fierce waves of Qi dispersed. Only Su Yi and Ram Star Plume were left. Phew! At this time, finally getting rid of Su Yi's terrifying pressure, Ram Star Plume watched as Su Yi approached step by step, and his feet couldn't help but tremble. Su Yi's calmness made Ram Star Plume feel afraid for the first time. This Su Yi was completely different from before. "It doesn't matter if you bully me, but you bully my sister," Su Yi said coldly, and his tone sent chills down people's backs. "I didn't. It's Lu Linxian." Ram Star Plume waved his hand and looked at Su Yi in a panic. "You also injured my brother." Su Yi's voice was even lower at this time. Suddenly, Su Yi shouted in a low voice. With a thought, an enormous Emperor Sparrow image surged out from behind him. Boundless energy spread out between the heavens and the earth. Humiliating Su Wan'er and seriously injuring Wang Shangwu, these two taboos had been violated by Ram Star Plume. Su Yi had no reason to not kill Ram Star Plume. Suddenly, Su Yi, who had gathered all of his vitality, shot out the light of the 100 transformations. In the next second, Su Yi's blood demon killing god sword had already rushed in front of Ram Star Plume. Die! Suddenly, Su Yi's huge phantom moved, and the divine bird behind him screeched. The fiery aura turned into surging energy and poured out in an instant. Looking at the divine bird in the sky, the domineering and terrifying aura that seemed to swallow everything in the world, Ram Star Plume's eyes instantly became sluggish. He subconsciously gathered his chi and retreated. Panicking, he raised his jade fan to block, only to hear a crisp sound. The supreme art of origin combined with the bloodline of the celestial sparrow, Su Yi's surging energy surged over like a tsunami. The moment the energy collided, Gong Yang Xingyu felt a trace of disbelief. He shouted loudly, "Impossible!" Boom! The jade fan directly shattered, and Ram Star Plume's right hand turned into a bloody mist. In his eyes, Su Yi's eyes became abnormally cold, as if he was examining a corpse, without the slightest fluctuation. "My brother, my sister, is not someone a piece of trash like you can touch," Su Yi roared. He originally thought that entering an ancient sect could make up for the two's worries and weight. But he didn't expect that Wang Shangwu would almost die because of him. He didn't even know if he could practice martial arts. For a martial artist, just when there was hope, Lu Linxian and Ram Star Plume joined forces to crush Wang Shangwu's martial arts dream. Not even a speck of dust was left. As for his younger sister, Su Wan'er, she had almost been humiliated. If he was late by a second, the consequences would be unimaginable. Why? Ram Star Plume, who didn't dare to fight anymore, completely collapsed. He ran away madly, fleeing into the distance. Ram Star Plume, who had lost his right hand and balance, was dispirited, but he couldn't care so much. He could only rush over. Bang bang bang! Su-yi continuously waved his heavy sword, and the billowing storm that passed through space continuously exploded behind Ram Star Plume. A low explosion sounded. Ram Star Plume's right leg was also hit, and the sound of bones breaking resounded. Ram Star Plume, who was terrified, didn't care anymore and ran away like a rabbit. Ram Star Plume, who was at the 6th level of the Origin Emperor realm, was humiliated and chased by Su-yi, who was at the 5th level of the Origin Emperor realm. No one would dare to believe it. After chasing for a few rounds, Ram Star Plume saw a group of people in front of him, and his eyes were filled with joy. The people who came were the disciples of the young master's mansion, Rikkamon, and the inner and outer palaces. Ram Star Plume didn't care about his image anymore and roared loudly, "Su-yi is here! Lu Linxian has been killed! Everyone, kill him!" Suddenly, 100 to 200 people rushed in front of Ram Star Plume. Ram Star Plume turned around, and a sharp gaze appeared in his eyes. He had 100 to 200 people supporting him. Even if it was Su-yi, he would only have a miserable death. A few hundred pairs of eyes looked at Su-yi, who was wielding a heavy sword, and all of them were spitting fire. They glared at Su-yi fiercely and roared incessantly. Hoo-hoo! 2 groups of people came from the east and west. They were the Yuan clan and the Jing clan. On the other side were Yuning Shintu Shuang, Dongfang Yuan, and the others. Yuning who saw Su-yi from afar, quickly galloped over. In her eyes, Su-yi was like a killing god. His cold gaze seemed to be able to solve all problems only by killing and berserk. Su-yi, where are Wan and brother Shangwu? Yuning looked at Su-yi from the sky, and a bad feeling surged in her heart. Su-yi raised his head and looked at Yuning in the sky. The corner of his mouth twitched and he said softly, "Thanks to you, they almost died." "What are you saying? We also just managed to escape." Shintu Shuang raised her chin and was held back by Yuning. Su-yi. Yuning muttered softly. Su-yi didn't look at them anymore. Instead, he looked straight at the 100 to 200 figures in front of him. Rumble! Behind him, another 100 to 200 people rushed over. They were still disciples from the inner and outer palaces. The 4 forces surrounded Su-yi and formed a circle. A few hundred people, other than those who were exhausted internally, had already gathered together. "Su-yi, you bastard! You killed my senior brother Lu. I will make sure you die a horrible death. You took away our young mistress, and still dare to sneak into the ancient sect shamelessly. Su-yi, we will make you die here today." Suddenly, a few hundred Origin Emperor realm disciples had sharp gazes as though they were carrying a blood feud as they clamored at Su-yi. A terrifying energy radiance appeared out of nowhere. The sharp and murderous aura instantly dyed the sky with terrifying black cracks. On the east side, the Jing clan and Yuan clan looked solemn. At this moment, the inner and outer palace's disciples were united against the outside. Even if they didn't help, they couldn't get involved in this mess. Looking at each other, Jingtian Zhan and Yuan clan retreated, leaving behind an empty space. "You guys." Yuning looked at the Yuan clan and Jing clan who retreated. She felt a chill in her heart and immediately said to Su-yi, "Su-yi, let me help you." Suddenly, like a fairy descending to the mortal world, Yuning floated to the ground. The people of Moon Jade Valley behind her also landed. Seeing that Yuning had landed, Shintu Shuang frowned at Dongfang Yuan and unwillingly landed beside Su-yi. Looking gloomily at Yuning beside him, Su-yi knew that he could only blame himself for this matter. He was too anxious just now. With a few hundred ruthless gazes on him, Su-yi didn't want Yuning to take the risk. Today would definitely be a terrifying killing feast. Blood and violence would only make Su-yi completely offend the ancient sect. If the Moon Jade Valley and Unparalleled Arrow Squad could not get involved, they would try their best not to. Su-yi, do you think you can run away?" In the depths of the crowd, Ram's star plume revealed a trace of craftiness in her eyes. Seeing Ram's star plume, Su Yi's killing intent instantly surged. He said to Yu Ning, "You guys can leave. This matter has nothing to do with you. Today, in the ancient sect, I will use my life to make these people pay the price." Chapter 2181. Their voices were deafening. Su Yi's gaze swept across the arrogant disciples before him. Just because of the Dark Sea fragment and their groundless jealousy, these hundreds of people were used by a despicable person like Ram's star plume. Su Yi sneered. "If I don't kill these dregs, why should I keep them alive for the new year?" Boom! Yu Ning-er's killing intent soared again. Her cold gaze trembled as she looked at Su Yi's resolute eyes. Yu Ning-er knew that no matter how she persuaded Su Yi, she would not be able to persuade him. She had already understood Su Yi's character before the Rising Cloud Palace that day. If someone touched his reverse scale, he would even charge through a mountain of swords and a sea of flames. With a solemn expression, Yu Ning-er pursed her lips and ordered the Moon Jade Valley behind her, "Retreat." With a lift of her hand, Yu Ning-er quickly retreated with Shentu Shuang. In the distance, Shentu Shuang, Dongfang Yuan, and the others' faces were ashen. The vast void was filled with a terrifying aura. "Sister Ning-er, Su Yi is powerful. We've all heard of him. But with so many people, can he really do it?" Even though she disliked Su Yi, Shentu Shuang was still concerned about Su Yi. Yu Ning-er let out a long sigh. Looking at Su Yi, who was covered in blood, she said, Shuang, who here can stop his anger?" Shaking her head, Yu Ning-er's alert gaze swept across the faces of every inner and outer palace disciple. Her expression suddenly froze. She suddenly reacted. Among the hundreds of people in front of her, there was no sign of the Yun family or the Wu family. When the inner and outer palace disciples were fighting against the 9 families, the Yun family and the Wu family had not appeared either. Today, the ancient sect will change. Yu Ning-er took a deep breath. Her cold gaze was filled with solemnity. The disappearance of the Wu family and the Yun family was not a coincidence. Yu Ning-er licked her dry red lips. Her nose twitched. Today, not only would the younger generation of the ancient sect face a calamity, but the entire ancient sect would face a calamity. "Wu Ma Xiu," Yu Ning-er muttered as her eyes turned cold. Beside her, Shentu Shuang and Dongfang Yuan's eyes trembled. "Yeah, what about Wu Ma and the Yun family?" Dongfang Yuan lowered his voice and looked at Yu Ning-er. Yu Ning-er made a gesture to get closer and said, "Even in such a desperate situation, the patrolling elders and grandma didn't come to stop them. I'm afraid that the Wu family did something. Hurry up and go to the medical supply point and find the patrol elder. Quick." Shortly after, Yu Ning-er told Shentu Shuang and Dongfang Yuan to quickly leave, while she stayed behind to watch. Yuan clan and Jing clan's people saw that Shentu Shuang and Dongfang Yuan had already left, and immediately felt that something was amiss. "Senior Sister Ning-er, what are Gong Yang and the Liu family up to? I don't think it's as simple as capturing Su Yi." Yuan Jia took a deep breath and lowered his voice as he spoke to Yu Ning-er. "That's right, Senior Sister Ning-er. If anything happens to the ancient sect, we must fight to the death today." Jing Tianzhan glared at Ram's star plume in the crowd with disdain. The words of the 2 junior brothers moved Yu Ning-er. Raising her eyes, Yu Ning-er transmitted with Yuan Qi, saying, "We can't hide it anymore. Forget it. The Wu family is a spy of the Long family. I'm afraid that everyone in the Black Sea has fallen into their trap. I can't explain everything in a short time. I've already told Shuang and the others to contact the palace master." "Then what about these disciples?" Yuan Xianfeng opened his eyes wide, his gaze filled with disbelief. "They're just being used," Yu Ning-er said as she carefully looked at Ram's star plume, who was holding a few shining fragments in his hand. It turned out that many of them had been hypnotized by Ram Star Plume's fragment. That was why they were easily controlled. Immediately, Jing Tianzhan and Yuan Xianfeng looked at each other and nodded heavily, immediately indicating that they would join Yu Ning-er's team. After some discussion, Jing Tianzhan and Yuan Xianfeng also went to help Shintu Shuangshuang. Before leaving, Yu Ning-er specially instructed them that the Wu family must have set up a restriction to block communication. They must find it and destroy it. After the two of them left, Yu Ning-er looked at Su Yi and sighed. Nanny and Palace Master must be looking for a way. Within the crowd, looking at Jing Tianzhan and Yuan Xianfeng leaving, Ram Star Plume laughed cruelly. In any case, the Yuan family and Jing family were walking towards the exit. As long as they didn't stay here and get in the way, he wouldn't be worried at all. However, if they wanted to destroy the restrictions set up by the Wu family, that was simply a fool's dream. Seeing that only the Yu family was left, Ram Star Plume's gaze became even more furious as he shook the Black Sea fragment in his hand. At this moment, Ram Star Plume wholeheartedly wanted to kill Su Yi. He immediately shouted coldly at Su Yi. Su Yi, you bastard! You stole my sweetheart and insulted my fiancée. Do you really think that there's no one in the ancient sect? Suddenly, hundreds of primitive emperor disciples surrounded Su Yi. Their hearts were filled with terror as their sinister and terrifying auras swept across the world. Origin emperors besieging an origin ancestor in such a manner would make anyone's legs go weak and their mind tremble. Su Yi, who was in the center of the encirclement, had a stern expression as he stared at Ram Star Plume with a gloomy gaze. The blood in his body was boiling as he pointed his sword at the world, revealing his sharpness. Su Yi was very familiar with the scene in front of him. In the Three Crow region, there were so many demon sect demonic beasts besieging him. How could the scene not be more majestic than this? So what if there were more people? So what if there were a sea of people? Su Yi wasn't afraid. Even if there were millions of soldiers and tens of thousands of demonic beasts, as long as his limbs were injured, this battle would still be fought. Su Yi's cold gaze swept across the entire place. Powerful waves of air surged around him, as if he had passed through the ancient world. His eyes shot out a bright light as he roared. The people of the ancient sects shall lose their lives here today. Ram Star Plume, I will use your life as a token of respect for my Jing, and my brother. Rolling waves of sound surged endlessly, accompanied by a fiendish aura of extreme heat that swept across the world. It was evenly matched with the terrifying pressure in the air. Looking at Su Yi, he wasn't frightened at all. Instead, he was mighty and domineering. Instead, he gave off an even more domineering aura. Ram Star Plume gritted his teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. His voice was filled with suppressed rage and killing intent. The shard shone with a demonic light as he waved his hand down and roared, "Kill! Kill him!" Boom! The sky was filled with light shadows that fell like a storm. Countless fierce light pillars struck down on Su Yi's position. Boom! 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 Resplendent and dazzling light aura filled the sky. The fierce light fluctuated, and the aura was extremely terrifying. Above the void, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Wind rose and clouds surged. The light struck the ground and the sound of thunder exploded continuously. At this moment, the entire world had turned into a sea of white light. As if it had gone deaf, only the buzzing sound of metal could be heard. Bam! Following the trembling of the huge space, the ground had already turned into a deep pit that was thousands of miles wide. It was as deep as a bottomless pit, and it shook one's soul. Chapter 2182. Ram Star Plume's eyes were filled with joy as he shouted, "Ha ha ha! Su Yi, what are you going to use to fight with me? It's mine, everything is mine. Go to hell. Blast him to death." Yu Ning, look, The one you like has been blasted to pieces by me. Ram Star Plume's eyes were trembling as he laughed wildly at Yu Ning. In an instant, Yu Ning, who was watching the battle, stopped breathing as a look of horror flashed across her face. How could an Origin ancestor withstand the attacks of hundreds of Origin emperors? Sui! Yu Ning cried out as she looked at the ferocious attacks that filled the sky. The moment the Origin emperors attacked, Yu Ning regretted it. She should have stood beside Sui. Yu Ning, whose heart was in a mess, felt a pain in her heart as she rushed up to the sky. High up in the sky, amidst the dazzling golden clouds, there was a mighty figure standing high up. Sui! Yu Ning was pleasantly surprised as her body trembled. In an instant, hundreds of gazes looked up and saw a terrifying energy vortex surging around Sui as the crazy wind and lightning energy of heaven and earth spiraled in the sky. From between Sui's eyebrows, a golden dragon mark began to shine. Divine light rippled as if it had an ancient aura. Following that, Sui slowly opened his eyes. The golden light was dazzling as he glared at the living beings in the world. Sui's body stood upright as his robes were outlined with flaming talismans. Golden light lingered around him, as if a god had descended. Releasing his mind, Sui instantly captured the strange energy of the fragment in Ram Star Plume's hand as he spoke to the people below. Ram Star Plume colluded with the Wuma family and is a spy of the Long family. I'll give you a chance. I won't kill those who leave. Formless soul energy was released like a tide, spreading throughout the vast and boundless space. Sui's voice was like a great bell that shook the world as he continued, "Those who stay behind must die." Hearing this, the audience was in an uproar. Everyone's eyes that were surprised by Sui's safe escape turned into doubtful eyes that fell on Ram Star Plume. In an instant, many people's eyes turned from blood red to clear, and they seemed to have recovered quite a bit. A spy from the Long family. The Long family was the real enemy in the ancient sect. This was a taboo that ancient sects absolutely could not commit. Someone who could take such a blow and not die, was he really the shameless person that Ram Star Plume spoke of? To put it bluntly, many of the people present were here to obtain the Dark Sea fragment and participate in the Yun family art. If Sui had only killed Ram Star Plume probably wouldn't have the slightest ability to retaliate. If Ram Star Plume died, where would they go to ask him for the Dark Sea fragment? Many people looked at each other and began to feel troubled and doubtful. In the sky, Yu Ning said in a deep voice, "I can prove that Sui's words are all true. Let me ask you, where is the patrol elder? Where are the people from the Wuma family now?" In the sky, many voices were incessantly heard. Many Origin Emperor experts had already realized that the situation wasn't right. Shaking their heads, some of the stronger Origin Emperors gradually left the battle circle with ruthless expressions. Suspicious and fiery gazes fell on Ram Star Plume. Indeed, from the beginning to the end, the inner and outer palace disciples were having internal strife. Thinking back, this was indeed suspicious. Motherf **, whether it's Ram Star Plume or Sui, I don't care anymore. I quit. I quit too. I'm not a disciple of the Gongyang family. I can't get Miss Yunjing either. What benefits can I get from killing Sui? Ram Star Plume, if you have the ability, fight with Sui yourself. Don't implicate us. I'm going to look for the fragment. It was better to believe it than to not believe it. After coming back to their senses, over 100 people glared at Gongyang Xingyu. Then, they didn't care too much and directly walked away. Bastard! Come back! Don't go! Ram Star Plume suddenly panicked. He wanted to explain, but how could he explain it clearly? No one wanted the fragments of the Dark Sea anymore, and no one wanted to avenge Sui's hatred because of the attack just now. Without these two things, no matter how Ram Star Plume manipulated the Dark Sea fragment in his hand, it would be difficult to salvage the situation. Ram Star Plume saw that the situation was over. Only the disciples from the young master's mansion and Rickamon were left. There were also some disciples from the inner mansion and the young master's mansion. Sui, you bastard! The rest of you, come with me. An ancient aura filled the air as Sui activated the Origin Supreme technique. Looking at the remaining 70 to 80 figures in front of him, he said coldly, "Since that's the case, go to hell." Boom. With a slight smile, Sui raised his eyes and opened his hands. A huge mysterious space appeared in front of him. In front of the dead, Sui had no scruples. Above the gloomy sky, a huge mysterious bell descended from the 9 heavens. Ancient Sanskrit chants resounded in the surroundings. 1. The terrifying energy of heaven and earth enveloped the entire sky. In an instant, the entire space trembled and surrounded the 70 to 80 disciples. The huge bell emitted a bright golden light. It was like an object from the heavens. It landed on the ground like Mount Tai and set off a huge wave of space ripples. This is. Yu Ning-er's eyes were dull. Looking at the mysterious bell that pierced through space, she was speechless for a long time. Above the void, Sui raised his eyes. Immediately, ripples appeared in the surroundings. The huge space energy within the bell suppressed all the disciples, causing them to bleed from their 7 orifices. They hugged their heads and cried bitterly, "Let me out! Let me out! Save me! I don't want to die!" Even the insufferably arrogant Ram Star Plume finally knelt on the ground and looked up at the golden light within the bell. The sharp energy was like a lightning whip hitting his body. It had already caused Ram Star Plume's soul to tremble. Die. The golden light was resplendent and Sui stood in the air. His low and deep shout slowly fell as he waved his hand at Gong Yang Xingyu. Suddenly, the silvery white 9th heaven profound thunder that filled the sky abruptly descended. Boom! In the void, the divine bell that was slowly rotating suddenly trembled. A monstrous bloody aura spread out and instantly enveloped the entire area. The surrounding space trembled for a short moment. The entire space was silent. The terrifying energy and life aura were completely destroyed by the extremely terrifying lightning. The only witness, Yu Ning-er, was forced to retreat by the ferocious energy. The entire area was in chaos. Huff, huff. After a long time, the energy storm finally stopped. The entire area returned to darkness. Everything was silently annihilated. It's over. So fast. Yu Ning-er, who was smashed on the ground, had blood flowing out from the corner of her mouth. The huge impact had caused her injuries. However, what made her even more shocked was that in an instant everyone had died. In just an instant, 70 to 80 Origin Emperor Realm disciples had lost their lives. Yu Ning-er's eyes were filled with absolute shock. Was that the energy of a 5th-level Origin Ancestor Realm? You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.